Attention know-it-alls. It's time for Football on the Know with Jim and Joe. Just a couple of guys, a couple of microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. If they said it and you heard it, then it made a noise. Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I'm Jim McPhee. There's Joe DeCapito. And, of course, now Cody Cook has made it to the table. There he is. He's there at the corner, Mr. Cody Cook.
To the table.
Welcome, all Nodos. Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know Show.
All right.
Where we, the experts, bring you the knowledge. Yeah. That's what it's all about.
All right.
Bouncing off topics here. We're talking about the draft this week. We're going to take a look back at what teams did, what we liked, what we disliked, and what have you. And much, much more. So stay tuned in. If you haven't already done so, do us a huge favor and head over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, let you guys know when we go live. And you can also follow us, of course, on Facebook as well. And anywhere you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, you name it, it's there. Hit the follow there as well. Drop a comment down below in the show. This is a live feed right here, guys. So don't be afraid to drop a comment down below. We're going to react to it. If you have questions, if you got opinions, drop them.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, talk about opinions. I'm sure people do after that draft again. And no matter what we say before it gets started, we're going to say we're going to see some surprises here. And we definitely were shocked.
Always
and
surprises.
It's funny how, again, you try and do these mock drafts and try to find sense in some of these picks and whatnot. But what transpired on Thursday night was pretty crazy. And everybody's mock, again, has to be destroyed.
We got a couple.
The
first couple.
The
right?
number one thing is
Yep.
we're never going to have the intricate information that all these teams do. Like in the war room, they have all kinds of reports, like whether it be medical, whether it be family history, whether it be anything. So they know literally everything of each prospect that they've dived into and really started to get information from. So we're never going to be privy to that information. We're never going to get it right. Mm-hmm. Like you can guess a few picks where we're like, you get it correct. But overall, when you have trades involved that you can't predict and what a team values at what position, you know what I mean? There's always a big difference in there. And we saw that in the draft. Mm-hmm. We saw teams take players that we never thought would go in the first round. We thought teams would take guys in the day 2, but they didn't even go until like the end of the day 3. So you're seeing the distinction between why they do what they do and we're just, big time guessers.
Right, exactly. The big news, I think the Texans, trading up to get now the third pick overall. So they had second and third right there.
Back to back.
To get who they wanted right away. Bang, bang. And everybody also knows the memes that's going on about Will Levis and everything and him dropping and look frantic and upset during the whole first round just sitting there in the room.
I mean, I blame his agent. I mean, his agent really – and that's the funny thing, too, is a lot of teams did come out later on and express that they were surprised to see Levis hang around all first round and still be available because they thought he was also a first round talent and deserved to be picked there. But guess what? You only have 32 picks. That's it in the round. So not everybody can make it.
31 this year.
31 this year again, and again, maybe again when we see the talent that's still on the board or guys that guys that they value more. Some of those people, i.e., the Titans must have thought, hey, we can get him on the swing back around later on. So But we are talking about the NFL 2023 draft. We're recapping the picks here, so we're going to go through all teams quick and take a peek at the list of draftees and just kind of not exactly grade them, but see how they did.
No, we're
We're
gonna
just give initial thoughts.
We're going to give pros and cons to each team, what we feel like, and move on. Like, listen, the grading period, I can't stand it that everybody comes out with these grading systems. Oh, they get a B, they get an A for the draft. The guys haven't even taken a step on the field, and you're already saying that they're going to be a really good player or a really poor player, what have you. How about we wait 3 years?
Right.
Let's give them a little bit of breathing room.
A fodder to go as you go along.
Yeah.
I mean, look back
It's
at
just
I always
crazy,
remember is I think the Giants got like a B grade from somebody for hiring Ben McAdoo. And look how that worked out for everybody.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
All right, Cody, bring us in. What do we got here?
All right, we're going to be kicking us off today with the Arizona Cardinals draft. And this is a team that really in most of the rounds just did a very good job of getting value where they wanted it. They were able to get Paris Johnson early on, then come back second round, they get a starting edge rusher, and they got, when I look at drafts, how I view like success versus failure initially is how many of these guys can come in and immediately compete for starting jobs. And the Cardinals have like 4 or 5 guys. They did a very good job getting guys day 3 even that are going to be in there competing and very much have a good chance at getting starting jobs, like Owen Pappoe on day 3 from Auburn at linebacker. Me and Joe talked about how much we liked him when we did our linebacker rankings. So to see a guy like that going at pick 168 is great value. What do you guys think?
I mean,
for
for
some
the
of these
Cardinals,
picks?
okay, so their draft picks, you mentioned Paris Johnson went in round 1 from Ohio State.
Yeah.
Round 2, B.J. Ojolari from LSU. Round 3, this is where it gets interesting because the value was there. Garrett Wilson, corner from Syracuse, very good pickup. Michael Wilson, wide receiver from Stanford, who, if he can stay healthy, could be a very dominating receiver at the next level. Round 4, John Gaines, the second defensive lineman from UCLA. Round 5, Clayton Tune, quarterback from Houston, a guy that I am really high on. I hope he pans out because, man, he's got all the tangibles. Round 5, you mentioned Owen Pappoe. We definitely love him. I can't believe he went that late in the round. Again, another value pick. Kietrell Clark, corner from Louisville. A lot of people like this pick, too, as a solid pickup. And then to finish it off, their last round 6 pick, Dante Stills, D-tackle from West Virginia. Another, projection, hoping that they can develop him up at the next level. But overall, I think this draft was actually pretty good, pretty solid. I think the Cardinals did a very good job with what they had, and they were able to manipulate the draft up and down. They traded back, they traded up, they traded back again, all over, and they got their guy, so to speak. You can tell by how they drafted.
Absolutely, just to grab quality guys and fill needs at the same time too. If you look at their depth chart altogether too, they filled the needs that they needed where they had weakness, and hopefully can turn things around after an abysmal season last season.
Well, I mean, they could have just threw a dart at the draft board and get their pick right anyway. So that's how many players they need. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons, and they had a surprisingly good draft. I know a lot of Falcons fans out there were kind of little perturbed about round 1. They didn't expect Bijan Robinson was going to be the pick, but nonetheless, you got themselves a dynamite player and is going to help that offense really, take off. Round 2, they get Matthew Bergeron, guard from Syracuse, a guy that was very highly touted coming in. Some people expected maybe the bottom of the first round he'd make it, but they get him in the second round. Round 3, Zach Harrison, edge from Ohio State, a guy that still needs to develop his pass rush moves, but man, gigantic athlete, super fast. Round 4, Clark Phillips from corner from Utah. Very good pickup there. Solid value. Round 7, DeMarco Helms, safety out of Alabama. A lot of people like him. Some people view him as an in-the-box safety. Some people think that he can develop into much more. And then their last pick, Javon Gwynn, offensive line from South Carolina.
Yeah, I think we even called it on the show that we thought they were going to be going Bijan in the first because it's just been the trend the Falcons have been setting with getting London, getting Pitts, what was the next position up? It was running back. We had a good feeling, and Bijan was a can't-pass talent. They want to give Ritter a real chance to succeed, and surrounding him with the best of the best weapons at every piece that they can is a very good start. And then also getting him a guard in the second round. Like, they're really, really investing on Ritter having a good season. I'm not a huge fan of Bergeron, but during even like the Senior Bowl, you saw like his progression in the practices from day one to the final day. With good coaching at the next level, I think he has a big chance to turn into an elite player. My big red flag and why I left him off our initial list was I think he gave up like eight or 9 sacks last year, and I was like, there are just too many talented players for me to put him up near the top.
And to be fair with Bergeron, he was playing tackle mostly at Syracuse, so that's probably the reason why they view him as a guard, kicking him inside at the next level. And it could work out for them well because now they're adding depth throughout that roster. And I know Bijan Robinson wasn't the favorite pick, but the Falcons were really hoping for Tyree Wilson there, and he got taken right before them. So there you go with Bijan.
Yeah, and the only thing now is if it pans out that these guys don't turn things around and become a winning franchise or start winning again, they're going to look back at this pick here at number 8, though, I think, in Bijan Robinson, almost like they do with the Giants and Saquon Barkley and said, they go and get a running back early, and it didn't really help them get any further in this league, and that could be a mistake that they had made, and where it even values running backs lower again still.
Yeah, I tend to think that this is a can't-miss prospect, and that's why he ended up at 8.
But how much of it is a difference maker of a running back recently?
We've seen
Not
it.
many.
Look at all those high-end running backs. You got Saquon Barkley, you just mentioned.
Yeah, okay.
Without him, your offense would have been blasphemy. It would have been very, very bad because if you have all the pressure on your quarterback and you got and the defense has no fear of a running game, and then it's going to be thrown out the window.
If Ritter is no good, then you're just shot anyways. Yep. So
Ritter, I mean that's the thing though
that's
too.
The thing though, That's
but
what I'm saying with this.
That's why they're giving him a legitimate shot to see what he can do.
Okay. 'Cause if you have the running game, obviously that can open up things for the passing games. Kind of take a little weight off Ritter's shoulders.
Yep.
Maybe limit him to like a 20 kind of pass count.
And you see them surrounding him with weapons. That's what you need especially if you're a rookie coming in. Because let's face it, never
First
played.
year starter.
You played only a couple of games, so now he's going to get the full spectrum of it, have a lot of weapons, and let's see what Atlanta can do this year.
All right. So speaking of a team that's been acquiring a lot of weapons,
Baltimore
next
Ravens.
we'll be going into the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I think they did pretty well for the first 2 picks. They go round 1, Zay Flowers, wide receiver from Boston College, that a lot of people liked. Round 3, they didn't have a round 2 pick, so they go Trenton Simpson, linebacker from Clemson. This is a steal. I can't believe he was there in round 3. Round 4, it's Tavius Robinson, edge from Ole Miss. Round 5, Caillou Blue Kelly, corner from Stanford. And round 6, Malesla Amave Lalu.
All right.
I would've just said
Offensive
the first
tackle
name.
from Oregon. And round 7, my favorite pick in round 7, Andrew Voorhees, guard from USC. The crazy thing about him, and the reason why he slipped, he was a top 100 pick coming into the draft. And at the combine, during the 40-yard dash, he tears his ACL and blows it out. And he doesn't stop there, because this is where you start to see how tough this kid is. As he went to do the bench drill still with a blown ACL. He was like, no, I'm going to still do the bench. And goes out there and pumps up some iron. So a guy that was seen as a top 100 pick, the Ravens steal with the round 7 pick here. And I would think after those 3 picks, so you got the round 1 Zay Flowers, round 3 Trenton Simpson, and then Andrew Voorhees. After that, I really didn't like the rest of their draft. I just like those 3 picks. They're 3 solid picks, and Voorhees is going to sit out this year, but he will return the following year and easily step right into the starting lineup.
Yeah, I have a lot of very similar opinions about how this draft went for them. Obviously, we all really liked Zay Flowers coming out. His route running, his explosiveness. It's going to add a very good element that this offense was missing last season. There wasn't much explosion in terms of their wide receivers, as I believe their wide receivers were 32nd in the NFL in terms of receiving yards last season, which I can't even fully blame Lamar for that. They had Proche as their number 1 guy most of last season, and that's horrible. It's just Mark Andrews and friends at that point. So they've done a great job of retooling. And you saw with Trenton Simpson around 3, there was a big trend in this draft, and that's hey, let's just not draft linebackers until we just kind of feel like it later. That's why we're seeing like Trenton Simpson, a guy who was projected to go early on in like round 2, fall to 3, and then very dominant, still like starting caliber linebackers all over day 3. I could name like 6 linebackers off the top of my head that are going to be competing for starting jobs that all went day 3. So it's going to be cool to see, those guys that no one's going to be talking about. I think overall, I think the Ravens did a very decent job. You're going to be seeing, 2 of these guys competing for starting jobs right off the rip. And I think the other guys are more going to fall into like depth spots than anything. They just don't really have that like it factor for me as I looked into the players.
Yep. I can see that there completely.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about it. And this is what shows us how much different it is with NFL teams versus the outsiders, so to speak, looking in. We do our own homework from the outside. We get whatever information we can. But you see the difference in the value with picks. You see them where Trenton Simpson, we had it as a day 2 pick, second round, high second round. A lot of teams might have viewed him as a third rounder. You know what I mean? So it's very different. And it's just interesting to see how everything falls. You know what I mean? With all these players, and you're just like, why isn't he picked already? How is he still there? I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
But in the end, we're going to see how these guys all pan out 3 years from now.
All right. Bring us into our next one. Next, we got the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, Buffalo Bills. I mean, they didn't have very many picks, so they start off in round 1, at the end of round 1, at pick 25, and they grab Dalton Kincaid, tight end from Utah State. Round 2, they come back and get Osiris Torrance, guard from Florida. Round 3, they get Dorian Williams, linebacker from Tulane. Round 5, they get Justin Shorter, wide receiver from Florida. And then their last pick, round 7, didn't have a 6th pick, Nick Brodeker from offensive tackle from Ole Miss. I have to say their first 3 picks are stellar. Like, the value was tremendous right there. Round 1, you get Dalton Kincaid, which a lot of people consider the number 1 tight end because of his receiving ability. Round 2, Osiris Torrance. You Cody, you and me both. Like, a guy that just does not give up sacks. A guy that's he's a mauler. He's amazing, and they get him in round 2. And then round 3, Dorian Williams, one of the linebackers that we were really high on that a lot of teams you could see. They were actually higher on Williams than they were a guy like Trenton Simpson. But he just kind of just kept hanging around because of size. So they're going to take a shot. They're going to bring in Dorian Williams. And I'm telling you right now, he's going to make a big difference for this defense, especially after he gets a little bit more strength and more weight.
Yeah, I was very happy to see Williams get drafted a bit earlier. Because when I was looking at the initial projections, I'm like, this guy should just not go day 3. Like, this guy's nuts. He was one of my favorite linebackers in the draft. He does everything. Cool, he's a little small. He can bulk up at the next level. I don't view being a little bit undersized at that position to be a detrimental thing coming out of college. That's not bad. Obviously, I am a giant fan of Osiris Torrance, so I am very jealous that to even see him go at like pick 59. What was everyone doing for the other 58 picks?
Yep.
Like, this is the best guard in the drafts. He shouldn't have been here. This is an excellent pick for the Bills. And then everyone's been saying, Josh Allen needs some more consistent weapons, so it's not all on Dix's shoulders alone. And Kincaid is arguably the number 1 receiving tight end in this whole draft. So I think that's a great pick there.
Yeah, absolutely. Add some depth to their receiving core now, too, because now you go 2 tight end sets. You got Dawson Knox there on top of it, too. So they can do a lot more with this offense. And, again, protection for Josh Allen, too. He says he's going to run a little less. We'll see what happens with that this season. But, yeah, actually protect him, protect your asset, and make that push again because you know how windows are sometimes. You have a certain amount. And with the way this AFC East is building their teams up, especially now Aaron Rodgers comes to town, in the East, it's going to get wild.
Going to be exciting. All right, into our next team, we have the Carolina Panthers coming up now.
Yeah, Carolina Panthers, they didn't have a lot of picks left. They only had 5, but they did the best they could. I mean, round 1, they take Bryce Young. Everybody knows Bryce Young. We've been talking about him for
predictable
ever. Knew that was going to happen. Great player. Let's see if he can last on the football field. Round 2, Jonathan Mingo, wide receiver, a guy that I really liked coming out, guy that's very contests balls extremely very well, will go up his physical. So that guy right there looks like he's going to go into the slot for them. Other than that, you got round 3, you got DJ Johnson, edge from Oregon. I know a lot of teams were high on him. I didn't know enough about him, but he kind of got pushed up into that third round. Thought he would be like a little bit later, but he ends up going at round 3. Round 4, Chandler Zavala, guard from North Carolina State, a guy that was kind of a little bit underrated of a guard, and they end up getting him in the 4th round. Round 5, Jamie Robinson, the safety from Florida State, a guy that a lot of people viewed as a top 5 type of safety, and they get him in round 5. So overall, I would say they did a very good job of addressing needs and addressing the high value picks here. So they got a solid draft overall.
Yeah, the Panthers did it for a very good example of how much you can do with even like very little picks. Because you look at all these guys, and there are arguably all 5 of these guys are going to be competing for like starting caliber spots. Like these are 5 very good picks all around. DJ Johnson, I don't know a ton about him, so I can't praise too much about that one. But
he's a longer edge defender.
Yeah, but
and so they kind of went. They actually kind of rolled the dice, so to speak.
Yeah.
He's not ready to get out there, but he still needs some developing, obviously with the coaching at the next level. But they liked his measurables. Basically,
yeah, has the potential tools. And I know a lot of people have been like last second pushing Mingo up. Some guys even had him going as early as like the 1st round.
Yeah,
which would have been a little crazy, you know, despite the fact that he's getting like the Pickens. Everyone's comparing him to George Pickens from the Steelers. They're like, this is a very big wide receiver with a huge catch radius that can just kind of be like a QB's best friend, almost like a tight end coming out of the wide receiver spot with speed kind of player. So I think overall, I'd say the Panthers did a good job, and their team is at least trending upwards. We saw what they were able to do last year, even with PJ Walker. Like, they were actually staying in games, competing, and almost even made the playoffs, despite trading away, like, some of their best players and some of their other guys not even playing. So it's going to be interesting what they can do now, you know, maybe with a little more confidence and just a better overall roster.
Yeah, you see in free agency, they really tackled their wide receiving core in free agency, grabbing a couple former Jags and Adam Thielen. And, you know, then they go and draft one, you know, later. So hopefully he can help out with Bryce Young now, who's at the helm for them. Quarterback, something they've been looking for the past couple of seasons now. Frank Reich there hasn't been really the best right now with quarterbacks, but, you know, when then you got a Bryce Young now, that sets it up nice for him at least to start off new with this new regime and this new team. Yeah. But again, we'll see what happens. But the tight end situation with getting Hayden Hurst though too, I think is a nice situation too. When you have to somebody to dish it off to, what better than this guy, the big old Viking type of dude, you know? I mean, red hair flaring. So let's go.
He's coming off a good season too.
Absolutely.
All right, and to our next team, we have the Chicago Bears.
Why don't you go ahead and read them off, Cody?
Oh gosh, it's gonna take me a minute.
Oh, you got to give them the smallest ones.
No, it's all good. I can still read them kinda. All right, so round 1, we had offensive tackle Darnell Wright. Round 2, kind of a reach, but Gervon Dexter, defensive tackle out of Florida. Also round 2, Tyreek Stevenson, corner out of Miami. Round 3, Zach Pickens, D tackle. Round 4, is that Rakan? I think that's Rakan Johnson. Pretty sure that's what that says.
Yes,
Also in round 4, we had Tyler Scott. Round 5, Noah Sewell. Round 5 also, Terrell Smith. Round 7, Travis Bell. Round 7, Kendall Williamson. I am tired now.
They had a lot of picks. Let me tell you. In Chicago, they really loaded up on picks, but you know what? They were also busy in trades nonstop. If you look at some of these picks that they got, most of them, 90% of their picks are all from other teams during trades and things like that, making things happen.
Yeah. I mean, I was really, so like our favorite pick obviously is Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright right off the top.
Superstar.
Round 1, going to be an excellent player for the Bears going forward. Probably almost all pro level. Yep. Round 2, this is kind of where it got a little crazy for me. I really didn't see the value in Gervon Dexter. Definitely a developmental D tackle. And you know what? This is kind of where the Bears go with measurables, and they know they needed D-line help, so they kind of reached on this, but we'll see if Gervon ever pans out.
He was really like him.
He was a former 5-star recruit, and you would think with that kind of a label that the talent is there. They just got to bring it out of him. Their second round 2 pick, Tyreek Stevenson. A lot of people highly valued him, corner out of Miami. A lot of people really like him. They're excited for him. Maybe he gets into the lineup a little sooner than you think. After that, you got Zach Pickens. Zach Pickens, I kind of like, but again, Still feel it's kind of a little bit of a reach with that third rounder. And then you start to see guys like Tyler Scott, Noah Sewell, Rashawn Johnson, who hardly ever played behind Bijan.
Yeah.
And then going into the deep part of the rounds here, like the only real guy that I pick out is Terrell Smith, corner from Minnesota, a guy that I was kind of hoping that maybe my Raiders would take, but they had other plans. So Chicago, I think overall, you see some, in our views, you see some reaches, you see some really solid picks. So, all in all, I think they had a solid draft. Yeah. It's just hopefully they can bring out the best at some of the other positions that they kind of reached on.
Yeah, they really dug deep into this guy could potentially be this. That is a lot of their picks, other than their first one. The first one, that's just going to be a starter day one. He was one of our favorite overall tackles in this draft. So that one's out of the park. But when you look at a Dexter and Pickens, they both are very similar in the fact that they are amazing prospects with insanely high ceilings and very low floors. They could just turn into career backups at best, or one of them could turn into a superstar. And I guess the Bears' train of thought is if we just pick a couple of those guys that might turn into something, one of them's bound to pan out, right?
Right.
So that just seemed to be the way they were going. And then, Stevenson's good from Miami. I think that's a good pick. And then they just kind of stuck with potential. A guy who was a career backup at running back, maybe if he's a starter, he could get good. That's a good idea. I don't like Tyler Scott. He's a kind of a field stretcher. I don't think there's anything real unique about him. He's just a speedy guy that can go in the slot. Not very much explosiveness to him. Not much after the catch. I'm just not really a fan of him.
And how many times have we seen that too? We've always seen the speedy, smallish type of wide receiver. Yep. You stick him in the slot, no one's gonna be able to stay with him. But we've seen it over time and time again throughout the league, throughout every single season. This guy is the next biggest thing. This guy's the next biggest thing. But it's not common for those kind of body types, those smallish receivers that may be quick and fast. There's something else that they're missing, and it shows more often than not that they're just not up to par at the next level. They can get away with it in college. Let's see if they can get away with it at the next level where there's much better talent.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. And like you said, Cody, even for the amount of picks that they had, it seems like it's a lot more potential than actually, killer spots here with the amount of picks that they had. Figure be able to bang, bang, bang. They can grab guys that they want right here with 2 2s and a third and then 2 4s. You could really did some damage in those first couple rounds.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, into our next team, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that did basically
phenomenal.
Excellent in my opinion.
Absolutely phenomenal. The Bengals, round one, Miles Murphy, edge from Clemson at 28, almost dead last in the round.
Yeah.
Round two, DJ Turner, cornerback from Michigan, a guy that I absolutely love, going to be the starter for them. Round three, Jordan Battle, safety from Alabama, another really solid pick at safety. Charlie Jones, wide receiver from Purdue in round four, a guy that I love, a guy that I think could really develop, and this is one of those guys that I do believe can be a slot corner at the next level. Round five, it's all value, baby. Yep. Chase Brown, running back from Illinois, very highly touted from Illinois, very good, solid player in all aspects. He can even block. He can catch, he can run, he can do it all. Round six, this is where me and Cody get a little excited. Andre Iosivas, wide receiver from Princeton. Great pick in round six. And then to finish it off with the last two, Brad Robbins, punter from Michigan.
That's a starter.
A guy that can boom it and definitely will start. And then DJ Ivory, cornerback from Miami, a developmental prospect. But overall, phenomenal draft for the Bengals.
Yeah, when you look at it, just about every single guy on this list is going to be competing to play outside of, I do like Charlie Jones as a wide receiver. Obviously, he's coming into a stacked group, so that'll give him a little time to kind of get his game going.
Yeah.
And maybe even by the end of the season, we could see him jumping over like a Tyler Boyd if he isn't performing up to par or something. But other than that, it's just amazing value every round. From Murphy, even, Joe isn't a huge fan of him, but pick 28. By that point, take a shot. You're not investing that much. It's one of the last picks, and you're getting a guy with, superstar potential. DJ Turner's going to be a lockdown, probably more of a slot corner, but he's going to be locking down wherever he goes. It's all he did in college. One of the best at it last season. Battle in the third is just great value, and he's coming in to fill some big shoes as they let what's his dingle? I can't think of his name. Drawing a blank, but he's filling some big shoes of a former Pro Bowl safety coming in there. Chase Brown with all the legal issues and
Jesse Bates.
thank you. Jeez, I just left my brain.
Sorry.
No, thank you. I needed that. Yeah, Brown coming in. You know, we've been seeing, the question marks and the legal issues around Mixon. So this could be a guy we might even see as early as week 1 out there showing what he's got. And a lot of people aren't going to know the name, but if they watch our show, then they'll be looking for this guy. Yasavas, this is going to be a guy who, if we hear about him, isn't going to be for a couple seasons. He's very developmental, but this dude, if you wanted to, make the perfect wide receiver, this is kind of what it would be. He's very tall, very fast, good hands, solid route running, but he's not coming from a big football school. It's Princeton.
He's the starter kid of wide receivers.
Yeah. This is very much hardcore developmental. May not work out, but in the 6th round, excellent to get a guy like that. And then, a punter's cool. It's a starter.
You never know because
They count, Cody.
I
They
judge
count.
based on starters, and I guess the
They
punters
count.
are starters.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And keep, making it to the end. Look, I mean, they had picked 28 in the 1st round. So, I mean, they keep making it to a championship game or hovering around there,
Playoffs.
getting big in the playoffs. Absolutely. So, they've already probably a pretty good team altogether. So, it's interesting to see who they pick when they have the opportunity. And when we just talked about the Chicago Bears and what they did with multiple picks, and then you look at what these guys did with what they had, you know what I mean? Getting the value for where they were.
It's more
I think
impressive.
It's more impressive,
Yeah,
absolutely,
definitely.
to what they can do.
And that's the thing
why
too.
they're winning teams.
It's like
too.
when you're a winning team and you're dominating for the most part, you don't have a lot of needs. So you can kind of take flyers a lot of times in these drafts and be like, "Whoa, this guy slid to us. Psh, let's take him." You know what I mean? And get away with it.
Yeah. There we go. We got our first couple comments coming in now. We got, first off, Paul Maddie.
What's going on,
Now,
Paul?
what's up from Play Linda Beach, Florida? Welcome in, Paul. Got Brian Grimes.
What's up, Brian? Welcome to the show, bro.
Every guy is competing to play. I must have missed when that one came in. I don't know which one he was referring to. I've said that about a couple teams now.
Yeah, it's true. But
You say that a
everybody is, that's what it is. They're competing to play. You always see everybody's looking to see what happens with, the HBO show before everything, it goes down, and it's interesting. People trying to make the roster. Tom Leiter in the house. He's coming in
What's going
later.
on, Tom? Welcome to the show. What else he got?
You guys, who got the number 1 corner and the number 1 receiver?
We'll get to that.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to
We'll
it.
get
We're
to
just speaking of that. Will bring us into our next team. We got the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, Cleveland Browns. Not a whole lot of high end picks. They had 2/3, 2/4, and 2/5, and a 6 or 3. Yeah, and that's kind of have to finish off. So they go with Cedric Tillman, wide receiver from Tennessee, in round 3. Also in round 3, Siaka Ika, D tackle from Baylor, a massive man. Definitely your prototypical nose tackle, a guy that you're not going to move, and a guy that has he has the talent actually to develop a little bit more of a pass rush than you would think. And he showed it in college briefly, but I think with better coaching, he'll just get better. Round 4, I cannot believe. Now, you might have to save that soundbite for this guy. Round 4, DeJuan Jones, offensive tackle from Ohio State. Guy is enormous.
He is a monster.
6'8", 340 pounds. This dude is a mauler and a grader. The only kind of question, and I feel like the reason why he slipped farther than I thought is because of his size and his feet aren't exactly fast. So let's see what they can do with him at the next level. Isaiah McGuire, edge from Missouri, a guy that I felt was underrated, a guy that they could definitely develop. He could be a starter down the road. Round 5, guy that I'm not high on at all. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, quarterback from UCLA, a guy that I just see as a running type of quarterback, a guy that doesn't have all the attributes you need in a passer. Round 5 as well, Cameron Mitchell, corner from Northwestern. And round 6, Luke Weipler, center from Ohio State. And Luke Weipler, amazingly, goes all the way down to round 6. A lot of people had this guy as like a top 3 center, and he slid all the way to round 6 where nobody wanted him. And I gotta say, I think it has to do with his size. I think he's a little undersized to play center at the next level, and that's why he ends up down in round 6. But nonetheless, really solid pick there as well.
Yeah, I think despite not having a lot of early picks, the Browns did a pretty good job of just drafting value all
Yes.
around the draft. because you get Tillman early, a guy who's going to be out there and probably almost competing to be in the lineup like immediately. You know, they don't have a lot of depth at the wide receiver position, and I expressed early that I think Tillman has a lot of potential. I'd say his ceiling is almost like a Mike Williams kind of difference maker due to his catch radius. You know, Ika, this is just going to be like a top 10 run stopper in the NFL. I don't think he'll develop into a pass rusher, but this dude is just impossible to move. He's going to stop the middle. You're not going to want to run there when he's in there. It's going to be cool to see him potentially even chuck a couple people. It's one of my favorite highlights to watch. Jones, I am a huge fan of this guy. His wingspan is literally the biggest in NFL history. This dude is just massive, and to get him in day 3 is excellent. Now, I don't know a lot about a McGuire and Mitchell. I'm not a fan of Thompson Robinson. I guess he's a decent backup if you want to switch to like a very running system. Then to get Weipler at the end, you know, another teammate of Jones. I think that's an excellent pick. I think I even at one point asked Joe during round 3 when a team traded up, like, oh, you think they're trading up to try and draft Weipler? You know, they need a center. So to see him go in round 6 is nuts. Because I gave this guy like, oh, he'll probably go like late second, you know, like mid third or at latest. So to see him fall that far, at that point, someone just take him. Even as a backup, take him.
Yep. And it's funny. That's the thing. When you looked at this draft, to see some of the guys that went early and then some guys that fell so far, you're looking puzzled, and you're kind of like, all right, well, maybe they just don't have them graded like that on their chart.
No,
you know,
they
whatever.
don't.
Just
And-
maybe it doesn't fit.
And that had to be it. Is Luke Weipler? It's not a thing about being a technician. He is a technician. He knows how to block. He knows how to play center. He snaps the ball well. He does everything well. The one thing and the one knock he could have is size. You just can't teach size, and he's a little undersized for the next level. Let's see if he can hold up against, you know, maybe a Mozzie Smith who we might have to go up against, or one of these like Siaki Ika. You know what I mean? And so I mean, that's going to be the staple for him. That's going to be the test. Can he handle these big D tackles that are going to constantly, every down, just beat the crap out of him? And can he hold still?
If he can move Ika, even in practices, he's got a legitimate shot. I want to see like a video of the first few days of practice, because I guarantee like day 1, Ika's just going to like plant him.
So
It's going to
could
be
be like
almost funny
David
to
and
see.
Goliath or something like that, too, right?
Yeah, basically with how the size differences are.
Absolutely, yeah. So again, the Browns, I think tackle needs, you know, do what they can to help solidify that offensive line too, and help Deshaun Watson get a little more familiar with this offense and do better than what they did last year. You know what I mean? Last year, you were kind of had some expectations for when he'd finally come in, and it was a bit disappointing. So let's see what happens if they can turn the page.
And that's how every team feels after the draft. Oh, we're going to be better.
Not always. All right. Next team.
The Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys
always feel like that.
Our favorites.
Yeah, they are. Round 1, and this is a guy that we kind of handpicked that was going to go to the Cowboys. If it wasn't going to be tight end, it was going to be Mozzie Smith, D tackle from Michigan. Round 2, they go and get their tight end, Luke Schoonmaker from Michigan. Kind of a surprise to us in round 2. Yeah. Round 3, DeMarvion Overshown, linebacker from Texas. Great value there. Round 4, Valami Fihoko, edge from San Jose State, a developmental edge player, but has a long way to go. Round 5, Asim Richards, offensive tackle from North Carolina. Round 5 as well, Evan Hull, running back Northwestern. Round 6, Eric Scott Jr., corner from Southern Mississippi. Also in round 6, Deuce Vaughn. They traded up for this guy. Deuce Vaughn, running back from Kansas State, a guy that you cannot see behind the offensive line. Very short fellow.
5'5".
Yeah, 5'5" running back. But I will tell you this is one of my favorite running backs in this draft. Not only is he 5'5", but man, is he's like chiseled. Like he's like a statue. You know what I mean? He's super fast, strong, and he's hard to bring down, believe it or not. Round 7, they finish off with Jalen Brooks, wide receiver from South Carolina, because it is the Cowboys, and they do have to draft wide receiver every single draft. It's a requirement. But yeah, Mozzie Smith, love that pick. DeMarvion Overshown, love that pick. Luke Schoonmaker, a little early for me. And other than that, it goes. They kind of fall off here in terms of value until they get to Deuce Vaughn in round 6. A lot of guys that they must have liked, their attributes, or they must have liked their size or variations or what have you. But overall, I think it's a potential draft for the Cowboys, but they do have a couple of solid picks in Smith and Overshown.
Yeah, I think this was a big example of we're just going to like, these certain guys. I don't really care what their projections are. Let's just make sure we get them all. Mazi, that's not a bad pick. It's just, I guess, for the Cowboys, it's not a flashy pick. He's probably going to be a very good starter. I believe he's like a very high floor, lower ceiling kind of player. I don't think he'll become like a superstar, but I don't think there's any doubt this guy's going to be a starter pretty fast off the rip for them. Schoonmaker's going to have to be a starter for them. I think there was a lot of better tight ends left at this point. Obviously, there's some intangibles there that they like for their team, but I'm not a particular fan of it. Overshown, he's a hard hitter. Maybe they just want another linebacker who's going to come up and stuff the run, who's a little bit of a wet noodle in the pass game, but I don't even think he was on either of our lists. I don't think either of us were big fans. And the only other player I guess I want to talk about is Deuce Vaughn. I really like the story with this guy too. How he got the call on draft day because his father is part of the management of the Cowboys organization.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, what's up, son? You want to come to work with me on Monday? And then, they're both laughing, probably crying a little bit. The dad's in tears, and as he gives the phone to Jerry as they welcome him to the team. It's very cool to see those kind of stories.
Absolutely.
And I hope I get to see this guy play because, just to see a small 5'5" player who the camera will barely be able to see him at the snap, all of a sudden just explode out of a F-back dive will be just almost great television and cool as a football fan to see. We don't see guys that small anymore.
Right. As
Not
much
anymore,
as
no.
the NFL, frowns upon shorter players in the league, it's going to be extremely difficult as a defensive player to be able to even see the guy behind an offensive line. And before you know it, if there's a small gap, this guy will get skinny through the hole and boom, explode. And before you know it, now you're trying to chase him down.
Excellent breakaway speed.
It's almost an advantage for him to be at his height. So it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him in Dallas and see how often they use him this upcoming season.
Yeah, that'd be something to see with the running backs, especially seeing they let Zeke go and things stuck with Tony Pollard. What they might do in that mix around, and looking at this draft too, it looks like Dan Quinn maybe had a little more influence in the picks in some of these too. A lot of defensive players, but I would have liked them even with some of those earlier picks, maybe attack the offensive line a little more too. Again, because they get constantly banged up.
It's deteriorating.
Yeah. And to help them out, and then they again, tight end there. When I don't think exactly that's going to really put them over the top. Like they think they might.
Yeah, they
after
one,
losing a Dalton Schultz, but.
You never know.
Is the Cowboys.
There's a reason why they had him up on the draft board as high as they did.
Maybe
so
he's just very averaged everywhere.
They like they like his height. Obviously, they like his size, his catching radius, and he was a solid player at Michigan.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was one of the worst tight ends coming out. He definitely needs to work on route running, but he has speed for his size. So I feel like they can work with him in that aspect and get him up to par at the next level. And he's going to be a contributor, I think, in the first year for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much. That's the thing is maybe 2 years or 3 years from now, we're seeing a whole different story. Wow, this guy is amazing. And that's what I think the Cowboys are projecting him to be for them.
Yep. Remember Brian Schottenheimer and now Mike McCarthy are the offensive coordinators now. So we'll see what this offense
very
looks like
bland.
now too.
Throw the
what
ball.
the plan is. So
Throw the
most
ball
likely.
again.
Well, that's what I mean. Grab all these running backs, but they don't usually utilize them that much. Unless they do, think about taking your Vaughn guy. And again, bringing them out and spread, here and there, and getting out some receiving, some trickery kind of type of plays.
Definitely.
All right. Into our next team, we have the Denver Broncos with one of the smallest draft hauls of every team in the NFL
Definitely.
with only
they just
4
had
picks.
4 picks here, and I hate the Broncos, but man, I gotta say,
4 excellent picks.
They had 4 picks that I wanted. At some point. So round 2, they started off with Marvin Mims, wide receiver from Oklahoma. I know Cody's not as high on him, but I think that the kid can project into a better role for the Broncos. Round 3, they get Drew Sanders, linebacker from Arkansas, a guy that a lot of people had either 1 or 2 on their draft boards going in. and they get him in round 3. A guy that is a tremendous pass rusher, great at attacking the runner and making the tackle in the open field. One thing that I think that he's going to excel at, and he still needs to develop it more, but his coverage ability. He already has the speed and the length and everything that you like, so they're willing to work with that. In round 3 as well, Riley Moss, corner from Iowa, a guy that, my God, this is another guy that I just really wanted, and not only was it a need for them, a guy that's going to come in and he's going to contribute right away. This guy is no joke. He plays extremely good man. He plays good zone. He's a solid tackler. He's all over the football and always looks back for the ball, which is key for corners. Guys like to face guard and get in the face and just kind of be a distraction. This dude literally looks back for the ball every single time and picks the ball off in college like crazy. So in round 6, I can't believe he went this low, but J.L. Skinner, safety from Boise State, a guy that is just a big, long safety, 6'4", long arms, has speed, has change of direction, and is extremely physical. He has good coverage, not great, but that's something that he'll have to work on at the next level. But, oh, my God, the draft haul for them to have 4 picks and nail every pick, Broncos did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, this team, they already showed they were very confident in their offensive line acquisitions. So they completely were like, all right, we don't need that much anymore. We got 4 picks. Let's try and hit starters at just about all of them. Mims, while I'm not like a huge fan of him as a receiver, let's say to be like a number 1 in the future, I think as a like slot, just a guy who can really stretch the field, I think this is a very good pick for, especially for a team like the Broncos, where he can come in. You got 2 established wide receivers on each side of you, and it gives him a lot of one-on-one opportunities where he can really kind of like make his magic and really make his impact felt. And Drew Sanders, this is just nuts. Talk about linebackers slipping. To see him going in the 3rd round is just stupid. Not silly. This is just stupid. He shouldn't have went this late. There was some guys saying he should go as early as late day 1 with his talent. So to get him in the 3rd round, excellent. And Riley Moss, like you were saying, this guy's football IQ, as with a lot of Iowa players, is nuts. This is a guy, even if he doesn't turn into a number 1 or 2, if you have him just on the field, this guy's going to make an impact in that secondary. And Skinner, I don't know how he got to round 6. Every analyst, everyone out there, all the reports I saw showed like early day 2. They thought he was going to go very early, because he kind of, like, he has everything. He has the potential to be a full package safety. Yeah. And you're getting him in the 6th round.
Right.
This guy shouldn't have went this late. I could name almost 100 players that should not have been drafted over J.L. Skinner.
Yeah.
The one thing that you notice about this draft, though, is the devaluing of safeties. Yep. Because they 100%. All went later than we thought. Brian Branch, we thought was going to go in the lower end of the 1st round, but still be a 1st-round pick. He ends up going in day 2. So that's just, it's crazy to me how we talk about the running backs being devalued all the time, but not this year. This year, 2 running backs went in the 1st round.
Went in the top 15.
And then on top of that, you see safeties that just keep getting, pushed back. So, hey, we'll have to all see how this unravels. But going forward, it was a crazy draft.
Yeah, and you're seeing the effect of having a Sean Payton in the house right here. I think of this one as far as draft class.
Yeah, a lot with a little.
Well, no, there's no John Elway there anymore.
Yeah,
so
that's true too.
That's the big difference.
You tell me they don't need another quarterback? Like, they should have drafted 3 of them. 12 of them got picked in this whole draft.
He's probably was sitting at his house, with his stogie and
haven't
his
drafted
brandy
a quarterback yet.
Damn, they screwed up.
All right, into our next team, another team that definitely did not screw up the draft, no matter what some analysts are saying, because they didn't get value.
I don't care.
Quote unquote value is the Detroit Lions, a team that they got.
Are you
another
kidding?
team that's got starters just everywhere.
And this is a team that, when me and Cody were watching the draft, we were texting each other like, yo, did you see that pick that Detroit just got? Did you see who they just took? Did you see who they just took again? It was insane, the value that they were getting. And Detroit Lions, they weren't fighting the draft. they were just letting it come to them. And whenever they needed to, they would do a little trade to get their guy or move down and maybe get an extra pick. They did a great job of manipulating the draft all night long through the weekend. Round 1, let's start off there. Jahmyr Gibbs. We just got done talking about the second running back taken at 12. He goes from Alabama. A guy that they had very extremely high on their board. And I'm assuming that there was other teams hoping they could get him a little bit later. And the Lions said, no way, we're taking him right here. And that just means Swift is on his way out the door. We've already saw him get traded.
Yep.
He goes to the Eagles.
Yep.
The Eagles just get tougher.
Almost nothing.
So Jahmyr Gibbs, they get their starter for the future. And also, at the later portion of round 1, and a lot of people viewed this as a reach. Jack Campbell, linebacker from Iowa. I don't see how it's a reach. I understand for a lot of people they had him projected in day 2, high day 2 pick. But, man, the Lions, they wanted him. Like this, and they were like, we're not going to, if we let him slip, someone else is going to take him, but we really want him, so let's get him now. And they do that there. Round 2, Sam Laporta, tight end, a guy, we heard the rumors about them going to be going into this draft and drafting a tight end at some point. They get Sam Laporta, a very well-rounded tight end, a guy that can do everything well. I'm not high on him because I just don't like his size and his short arms at the next level, but we'll see if it pans out for them. Also in round 2, they had so many picks.
Pick 45.
Brian Branch, safety from Alabama. We talk about the diminishing value of that position, and they get themselves a starter from day 1 in round 2 at safety. And here's where it gets interesting for some people. Round 3, Hendon Hooker gets drafted, quarterback from Tennessee, a guy that a lot of people viewed as one of these guys that might get taken early in day 2, or the second round, I should say. But he ends up going in the third round. Lions are like, we're not going to wait any longer. Now we can work with him, let him heal, because he's not going to come and play right away. Let him heal, and in the future, when Goff is either ready to move out or when they're ready to move on from Goff, they have their franchise quarterback. Also in round 3, I know it's kind of crazy, right? Broderick Martin, D-tackle from Western Kentucky. This is where I think they swung and they completely whiffed. I don't know what they saw in Broderick Martin. I like him as a potential type of D-tackle for them, but I think they reached here in the third round for him. Definitely developmental, but hey, they must have fell in love with him somehow. Round 5, they didn't have a round 4 pick. Colby Sorsdal from offensive tackle from William and Mary. Definitely a developmental pick because nobody had this guy rated high. Round 7, Antoine Green, wide receiver from North Carolina, a guy that with a lot of speed that they take later on. To fill out that draft. But overall, man, this is one of the best drafts of this year, hands down.
Yeah, I mean, this team, they drafted who they wanted. For sake value, these are the guys we want. I don't care when they're going to go because they're going to be starters on our team. No one had Gibbs going that high, but they're like, we're getting ready to get rid of Swift. We love this player. Let's bring him in. We're not even going to skip a beat. We're still going to have an elite superstar at that position. Jack Campbell. A lot of people had him going day 2. They're like, we just don't care. This is the most complete linebacker in the draft. We're getting him now. If someone else wanted to reach on him, good for them. We're not going to let them do that. We're going to get him in the top 20. It's just kind of where he deserved to go. This is a very talented player. Laporta, I'm going to say he's very much like a Dan Campbell guy. He's coming in. He's probably got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because he's a smaller player. Very doubted despite success in college. But he has the skill set to be a complete tight end. He's shown capabilities in terms of blocking. He's not afraid to attack anyone when he's going into a block, whether it be a linebacker, edge. He's going to attack. Whether, his arms might be an issue at the next level, we'll see. Maybe Campbell helps teach him a way to kind of combat that.
Is there a surgery for that?
No,
Can we
sadly,
get his arms
I would
longer?
have probably gotten it years
Because
ago.
that's for me.
Cody would have loved that surgery. He's like,
for
just
me-
put me on the stretcher.
All I have to say is for me, like if Sam Laporta, if he had longer arms, he would be rated higher for me. But that's like the really sticking point because at the next level, when he is going to be asked to block, I feel like that's going to be a struggle for him because he's not going to be able to get his hands into the chest where he needs to. Because these other guys, like a Luke Van Ness, like these guys with long arms, they're just going to stiff
a lot
arm
of
him
the
and
freaks
hold him
coming
at bay.
in this draft.
Exactly.
Yep, and I mean, Branch, this is just one of the best value picks of the entire draft. This is a guy who's like borderline, maybe not this season, but next season we could see getting into even like the Pro Bowl. Like he's that good of a player all around.
And actually, one of the best safeties at coverage.
Yeah.
Like, tremendous player.
He's played slot corner. The
I
dude
cannot
knows how to
believe.
cover.
I can't believe it that he went that low.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, Hooker, he's not much younger than Jared Goff. I believe Goff is 28 and Hooker's coming up on 26. But this is a guy with potential through the roof. Me and Joe have been very high on him through the entire process, and arguably might have even considered him for our number 1 spots if he had not been coming off an injury.
Right.
That was really it. I look at his tape. There's nothing wrong with this player. And his ceiling, as much as Goff's coming off a good year, his ceiling is much higher than a Jared Goff, even off his best season. And Broderick Martin, like, I like the player. You know, he made my list at 9. I was like, this is a prospect I think who has potential because he's huge. He's like 6'6". I think he's 330. He's a very big dude who has a very, like, natural quickness to him. Very good snap read, I guess. He comes off the ball very fast for a D tackle. Like, the potential's there, but round 3, I don't really see it. Even as a guy who likes the player, round 3's a bit much. You know, I get they very much, you know, forsake value. We like this player, but I think it's a little much. And then I don't know really anything about the round 5 and 7 pick, if I'm being totally honest. I just look at the schools and go, there's probably a reason I don't know anything about these guys.
They're developmental players.
Yeah.
Smaller schools. Yeah, I mean, you can see another team that grabbed needs, but then good value with the picks that they had. And the Detroit Lions, you know, come off with a good surprise, you know, so they can keep this train rolling forward. And we have question marks maybe about what's going to go on with the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
We'll see how they did. Let's bring them right in there, Cody.
Oh, gosh. There are so many picks. Joe,
They
you're going to
whiffed on them
definitely
all.
be reading these all because
I planned on it. All right, so the Packers had a boatload of picks. I mean, a crap ton. And they started off at round 1, pick 13, Lucas Van Ness, edge from Iowa. I said it before the draft, a guy that was going to be picked higher than a lot of people had envisioned. Some people said like late, middle to late in the first round. But I just had a feeling. With his length, you can't teach it. With his size and strength and his speed that he has and his versatility inside, outside. Round 2, Luke Musgrave, tight end from Oregon State. Round 2 as well, Jaden Reed, wide receiver from Michigan State. Round 3, Tucker Kraft, tight end from South Dakota State. Round 4, Kobe Wooden, edge from Auburn. Round 5, Sean Clifford, quarterback from Penn State.
Getting ready early.
Yikes. Round 5 as well. This is where it kind of gets repetitive. Dontavion Wicks, wide receiver from Virginia. Round 5 as well. Carla Brooks, D tackle from Bowling Green. Round 6, Anders Carlson, kicker from Auburn, who definitely has a leg. Round 7, Carrington Valentine, corner from Kentucky. I honestly can't believe he slid this far. Round 7, Lou Nichols III, running back from Central Michigan. Round 7 again, Anthony Johnson Jr., safety from Iowa State. And on their last pick, finally, round 7, Grant Dubois, wide receiver, Charlotte. A lot of developmental picks. And in this draft, this is Green Bay's version of fuck you, Aaron, we're drafting weapons now. Not for you when you were there. We're going to draft a crap ton of tight ends, wide receivers, and then maybe sprinkle in a little defense.
Yeah, basically that's what you get. They go and grab 2 tight ends.
Anybody you want to talk about here?
Yeah, a little bit. So these guys, early on, you know, I know after day 1, they're like, oh no, Packers, they're doing it again. They're still not getting this poor guy weapons. And I said, oh, you just wait. Day 2 is our day. And they didn't really have anything at tight end before this. So they go out and they get 2 tight ends who both have like very high potential. We talked about Kraft. We haven't seen the best of him yet.
No.
He's coming from a lower school. He's coming off an injury, but he has potential to turn into a number 1 tight end. And in my opinion, at least, he has a higher ceiling than Musgrave. But Musgrave should be the guy in there day 1.
I agree with that statement. I love Tucker Kraft, even though he's coming from South Dakota State. You could say, oh well, he didn't really experience very tough, difficulty against other defenses because of the lack of talent there. But man, can he make plays? Like that's what you need him to do.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with that. And quite honestly, you could see that in the future. Tucker Kraft might start over Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave they took because he's healthy.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about that. But Tucker Kraft, we don't have to rush him now. So when he does, that's when the depth chart could get flip-flopped.
I think one of the big issues we're going to see with this offense is just the complete lack of experience from the playmakers. You got a first-year starting quarterback coming in, and
Limited
you don't
experience.
have like anyone really with a lot of experience in your wide receiver pool. You got a lot of these rookies who are going to be taking the backup spots because there's just not a lot there in that receiving core. 2 second-year wide receivers as your like veterans of the group.
Yeah.
And your only guys on your offense who have like any experience past a season is Jones and Dillon.
Yeah,
That's
the youth
about
movement
it.
has started. All
Yeah.
the old guys, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, they're getting ready. You know, this Packers team, I don't think they're going to be great offensively this season, but if they show some signs, maybe by the end of the season, you know, really starting to click, all these rookies starting to kind of get comfortable together, quarterback getting comfortable with all these new faces and new weapons. This is a team that's at least back to trending upwards again.
Right.
It's been a bit, you know, they've been very stagnantly like we're a very good team. Even with Rodgers, they kind of started falling out of great and so more into like a stepping stone kind of team. Like if you beat the Packers, all right, that means you're pretty good. If you lose, you probably suck. So it's like this is kind of where they've been for a while. So maybe they're trying to transition out of that and get back into competing for playoff spots.
A lot of Green Bay fans right now are kind of excited for the potential that this team could be. The other guy that I wanted to kind of bring up real quick is Carrington Valentine, corner. I mentioned him briefly, but from Kentucky, I'm actually shocked he went in round 7. I thought for sure he was going to be like a round 4 pick, and he just kept sliding and sliding like a lot of these other players have been because it's the name of the game. You never know where these guys are going to go, despite if you like them or not. So Green Bay did a good job overall, but a lot of picks here that were just heavy receiving. You know what I mean? So I was kind of
trying.
Honestly, I was surprised on how often they went to like tight end, and then they would go wide receivers, and it's like
They need
Are-
it.
are
you
you-
saw their depth chart.
Are you gonna pick other positions too? It's like, no, this is kind of how we feel.
You're trying to rebuild the organization, offense first. All right, into our next team, unless you got anything more to add, Jimmy.
No, I'm good. You guys pretty much covered it.
All right, into one of the more interesting drafts, like I guess team drafts, is the Houston Texans.
Yeah, Texans. I mean, they started it off with none other than C.J. Stroud, a guy that
Huge
a lot of people were trying to have those rumors out there about him, and like, oh, he's gonna fall, he's gonna drop, he's gonna be dropping out of the top 5. But nope, that's not happening. We already knew the Texans desperately needed a quarterback. They end up making the selection at pick 2, and then they trade back up to pick 3, which was I don't even know if this has ever
Unfathomable.
been done before.
There's no
where
way.
where that high pick in round 1, and you got back-to-back picks now,
Yeah.
and they take the next guy off their list, and Will Anderson Jr., edge from Alabama. Round 2, they take Juice Scruggs, corner from Penn State, a guy that I kind of like. I hope he pans out, but definitely developmental. Round 3, Tank Dell, wide receiver from Houston. Oh my God. They're definitely going to have some fun with him.
Gets to
Round
stay in
4,
Houston.
they have Dylan Horton, edge from TCU. Round 5, Henry To'o, linebacker from Alabama. Round 6, Jarrett Patterson, center from Notre Dame. Round 6 as well, Xavier Hutchinson, wide receiver, Iowa State. And last but not least, in round 7, Brandon Hill, safety from Pittsburgh.
All right.
Go ahead, talk.
I'm sorry. All right, so we've never seen a team be able to like trade up, get 2 and 3, and they get arguably, in our opinion, the number 1 quarterback, and in my opinion, the number 1 defensive player in this draft, in Will Anderson. So that already is going to get. They're trying to turn this culture very fast from a losing team that is just like, maybe we'll get 3 or 4 wins, to really starting to like compete and show like, hey, maybe not this year, but give us a season or 2, maybe we'll start fighting for playoff spots. We'll start becoming a scarier team. And they kept almost every round getting great value picks. Scruggs there, that's probably going to turn into a starter for them. Excellent pick in the 2nd round. Tank Dell, I like this guy a lot. He is so hard to cover. He's so explosive. And for a team that doesn't have a lot of that, he is going to immediately be someone who sticks out, and probably someone Stroud's going to be looking at a lot. Horton, Morton's okay. I'm not a particular fan. He's more of a guy who has like high potential, but I don't personally see a lot there. I was fairly high on, I can't say his name though. To'o. I liked him a lot. I think he kind of got overshadowed by just some of the real big superstar names, because nothing really jumps off the page when in terms of his physical abilities. This is just a very good instinctive player who's going to be competing for playing time immediately. And I guess the last pick that I really liked in round 6, I like getting Xavier Hutchinson here. He is a very big wide receiver, arguably the best blocking wide receiver in this class, who has very reliable hands and good route running. This is a guy who might surprise some people, starting to like maybe even jump up into their depth chart, and someone that could fight with some of those okay veterans for like an outside 2 spot. You know, it really wouldn't surprise me because his overall talent, I'm not super high on guys like, say, like a Nico Collins or something. Guys who are just, they've been hanging around, they're big, and that's about it. They'll make some cool catches.
So Xavier Hutchinson, like I said, he's going to be a physical, player for them. A guy that's going to do extremely well in the blocking game. Very good as a possession wide receiver for them. And I think you're right. I think he's going to develop into that move the chains type of guy for them. Jarrett Patterson, I really like, center from Notre Dame. He's going to develop into a starter for them down the road. Other than that, you look at Tank Dell. Obviously, his quickness and his speed is another element that Stroud is going to love in this offense. And right at the top, you have Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud. We know that they were going to get picked high, but little did we know they were going to get picked by the same team. That was a surprise, I will have to say. But other than that, very solid picks. Good on Houston. And the new regime that's in place, you could see that they're starting to form their own version of identity for Houston going forward. And let's see what they can do in the next draft, because we know that they are rebuilding. They're going to sculpt this team into their version of a juggernaut. So that'll be exciting for Houston fans. Other than that, a lot of the players were kind of developmental. But all in all, very solid draft for Houston.
All right. As we'll move on to our next team, and arguably a team that's competing for, I guess, best initial look draft. This team got value almost every round as the Colts, who every round I think I was probably looking at Joe going, wow, they got him. Wow, they got him too. They're killing it. I was blowing your phone up. I think even day 3, I was texting you a lot about
Shocker
the Colts.
of the draft. Anthony Richardson, pick 4, quarterback from Florida. I know a lot of people they're on 2 different sides on this. They're either all for Richardson or no way, Jose. Like, we don't even view him as a first rounder. But they roll the dice here, and hopefully it works out for them, because if it doesn't, it's going to look really badly on the coaching staff. Round 2, they get Julius Brents, corner from Kansas State. Round 3, Josh Downs, wide receiver from North Carolina. Round 4, Blake Freeland, offensive tackle from BYU. Round 4 as well, Adetomiwa Adebawore, D tackle from Northwestern. Round 5, Darius Rush, corner from South Carolina. Round 5 as well, Daniel Scott, safety, California. Round 5 as well, Will Mallory, tight end, Miami. Round 6, Asim Richards, offensive tackle, North Carolina. Round 6 as well, Titus Leo, linebacker, Wagner. Round 7, Jalen Jones, corner from Texas A&M. And round 7, to finish it off, Jake Witt, offensive tackle, Northern Michigan. And I will have to say, this draft was just all value and needs at the same time. Like, they hit on a lot of picks, and picks that meant the world to them because of either scheme fit or just overall, like, where they saw them falling in the draft. They get their quarterback in Richardson. Let's see what he can do. I hope to God that they don't rush him out there, but what choice do they have, really, when you look at that depth chart?
Yeah.
Julius Brents, this is the perfect place for him to go. This is a cover 3 zone defense, and that's where he really fits. He's got these long limbs, 6'3" type of corner with speed. After that, you got Josh Downs, one of my favorite wide receivers with quickness and what have you. And then you just keep going down a little farther, and I cannot believe that Adetomiwa Adebawore was a round 4 pick. This guy I had as my second rounder, easy. Like, there's no way. I didn't think there was no way he was going to fall past the second round.
Yep.
And sure enough, he is here. what tremendous value for them. Definitely going to be a starter. Now it's how you view him. Can play D-tackle, can play edge. Do you want him to just play edge? That's kind of where I see him, at the next level. And he could be a dominant, player for them. And also, they just go with more. They go with depth. They go with value. Darius Rush, Daniel Scott, tremendous safety, does everything well. They got a receiving tight end that can, really attack right down the middle of the football field, and just projects after that. Just fill out some holes and see who they can get to rise to the top here.
Yeah, well, I will say they didn't get a lot of players that I guess me personally was super high on. Where they got the players is where I thought they should be going. So I believe it's very good value all around. I'm not a big Richardson fan. If that's their guy, that's their guy. I can't say it's a good pick. I can't say it's a bad pick until I see
Wait
what
3
he
years.
looks like. Yeah. Even this season, I'll be curious what I see from him. I hope I don't see, like a 50% completion percentage like what I saw with him in college. This is why I was not really a big fan. But Brent, this guy, he's an excellent corner prospect. I think he's going to come right in. I'll be very surprised if he's not even like a day one starter. Josh Downs, I had him kind of low on my list, but he's coming into a wide receiver room that's pretty bare. There's not a lot of talent past like the 1 and 2 spot. So he'll probably be someone who falls right into a slot role immediately and is out there at least showing what he's got, maybe proving people like me wrong, hopefully for their sake. I love Blake Freeland out of BYU. I think he is excellent. I think he only gave up like even 2 pressures all of last season. I know they're not always playing elite teams, but that is an excellent pick there. Day 3, if you're still getting starters, you're doing excellent. And then this guy, there were people who had him going as early as the first round, and I couldn't find a single red flag. There was no potential surgery. There was no leaked photo of him smoking weed with a mask on. Like, there was nothing. There's no reason this guy should be in round 4 with a ceiling. I'd say with his flexibility between the tackles and edge, his ceiling's as high as like a Chris Jones like player even. Like, this is a very good player who even like his floor is still going to be a solid player for you. Rush, he's going to be someone you need to kind of work on, but he's got all the tools to become a dominant corner at the next level. A lot of people had him as a day 2, late day 2 guy. So it's just value all over the place. People were talking about Will Mallory, but he's still slipped to 5. Like, this is just an excellent draft. Like, you could see, I don't think it'll happen, but upwards of like 6 guys from this class starting for them by the end of the season, which is insanity for a team that really needed it because they were already going down very fast. All right. We'll move into our next pick then, I suppose. We'll move into the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jacksonville Jaguars, that come in with the round 1 pick late in the round 1. Anton Harrison, tackle from Oklahoma, guy that they really do believe in that can just come in, develop, and start for them. Round 2, they go with Brenton Strange, tight end from Penn State. Round 3, they go Tank Bigsby, running back from Auburn. Round 4, they go Ventrell Miller, linebacker from Florida. Round 4 as well, they go Tyler Lacey, edge, Oklahoma State. Round 5, they go Yasir Abdullah, edge from Louisville. Round 5 as well, they go Antonio Johnson. He's labeled as a corner, but he played safety at Texas A&M. Round 6, Parker Washington, wide receiver from Penn State. Round 6 as well. They go Christian Braswell, corner from Rutgers. Round 6 as well, they go Eric Hallett, the second, safety from Pittsburgh. Round 7, Cooper Hodges, tackle from Appalachian State. And then round 7 again, Raymond Vohasek, D-tackle, North Carolina. And last but not least, another round 7 pick, Derek Parrish, edge from Houston. I would say like after like probably round the first 4th round pick is kind of where I kind of get lost with their draft. I like Antonio Johnson, definitely a developmental pick. Yasir Abdullah, kind of like a tweener. Not really sure what to use him. I think with the Jaguars and the way they run their defense, they'll use him as just a pass rusher off the edge, which is kind of where that's the only way where you can put him. at the top of the draft, they get a need, they get value with Anton Harrison, guy that's going to come in with these long limbs of his and work at the right tackle spot. Like the running back pick for depth with Tank Bigsby. Vontrell Miller, a guy that's a seek and destroy type linebacker, is going to blow up the backfield and stop the run extremely well, but limited in coverage.
Yep.
And Brenton Strange was a very, very big reach for me. I did not think he would ever make it in day 2. I thought he would be like a 5th, 6th rounder type. But man, they must have fell in love with him really quickly.
Yeah.
And after that, that's all I got to say about the draft.
Yeah, these guys definitely watched our show and went, I don't care what those guys think. We love these prospects. Because all these guys were like, oh yeah, they might be a decent backup at the next level. They drafted all of them. They didn't draft a single guy that me and Joe, we barely had any nice words to say about Anton Harrison. Barely anything nice to say about Ventrell Miller. We were not super high on a lot of these prospects who we view as guys with very, very low ceilings. And the Jaguars just picked all of those players. I can't rave about any of these players. I don't really like any of these picks. If the Giants even picked any of these guys, I don't think I would have liked like any of these picks. If I'm being totally honest. As from like my
Totally
point
honest.
of view, I think the Jaguars flopped pretty hard despite having a lot of picks.
Yeah. And just keep it dialed right there because you're so happy about the next team.
Yeah, we'll go right into a team who's another one I said I don't think they did very good draft day, like at all.
And I have to admit, I am extremely happy that they did so crappy because the Kansas City Chiefs is the next team. And wow, did I think they reached on a lot of picks,
All
maybe
of them.
even potentially all of them. But let's start it off. Round 1, bottom of the round, they go Felix and Nduke Uzoma, D-end from Kansas State. A guy that I think was a 2nd rounder, maybe even 3rd rounder at best.
Yep.
But they take him, bottom of the 1st round. Round 2, they go Rashee Rice, wide receiver from SMU. Round 3, Wyna Morris, offensive tackle from Oklahoma. Round 4 as well, Chamari Connor, corner from Virginia Tech, but played a lot of safety for them. Round 5, they go with B.J. Thompson, DN from Stephen F. Austin. Round 6, they go Keandre Coburn, D-tackle from Texas. And then round 7, they finish it off with Nick Jones, corner from Ball State. I'll start off real quick and just say round 6 is my favorite pick out of all of them.
We have something in common.
Keandre Coburn, D-tackle from Texas, a guy that I definitely think that could develop into at least a very solid rotational player, if not a starter later on down the road. Other than that, I got to say they reached on almost every single pick in my opinion. And a lot of these guys are just developmental guys. Like, none of them are going to come in right away and be the answer. Like, Rashee Rice, to me, is some people really believe in him, but there's an awful lot of people that are negative about him.
Like me.
I'm included. Me and Cody as well. A guy that is a physical receiver, but no real crazy explosion. Isn't going to just beat everybody down the other end of the football field where Mahomes can just launch it. Like, I think that it was almost like a comfortable pick for the Chiefs, where they're like, well, we don't want to go too far out of left field with this, but we want just someone that can fill a hole and a role for us and not get really any big returns on it. So overall, a lot of their picks I kind of questioned, and I was happy to, believe it or not. But the only one that I will point out is Keandre Coburn. I think could develop into something nice for them.
Yeah, from pick 31 on, every time these guys drafted, I just kind of looked at Joe like, are they really taking this guy? Like,
I
cool.
was smiling and going, yes, they are.
Yeah, because the way you stay on the top if you're a team like the Chiefs is you keep doing well in these drafts. And they had that opportunity, and I just think they flopped almost every single round. Uzama, he just should not have been a first-round pick. This is a guy who I think he'll just kind of turn into a backup. I think his ceiling is kind of like what we're seeing from like a K. Lavon Chason right now.
A lot of people were trying to hype him up when that draft pick was taken. They're like, it's the next Frank Clark.
Oh, God. No. Yeah, and I don't think I complained about him enough during our rankings because he wasn't on either of our lists.
No.
But I genuinely don't like Rashee Rice at all. I don't think this is going to be a good player. No. I think he's going to be even worse than like what we see from N'Keal Harry.
We don't even need to talk about him.
Like
then.
he's just he's just not a good player. This dude got completely locked out of games in college consistently against the top teams. Cooley has a good catch radius. N'Keal Harry has showed that alone does not matter. Because his highlight tape in college was very cool, but the thing you noticed, no space. Same thing with Rashee Rice. Morris, he's all potential. He's a guy who kind of has a high ceiling, but more than likely, this is a guy who's going to turn into a career backup. And it just doesn't get better from there. I think Coburn's the only guy that I'm like, yeah, I could see that guy turning into something good for them. Other than that, it's a lot of mediocrity for the Chiefs. All right. Into our next one, we got the Los Angeles Chargers. And
Los Angeles Chargers, here we go. They
That's right.
actually did a very good job in this draft. I mean, good God. Round 1, they get Quentin Johnston, wide receiver from TCU, a guy that a lot of people thought the Chargers could go a couple different ways, and they knew that they needed to address the wide receiver room because of, obviously, Keenan Allen's getting older, and they need to start looking for that next number 1 type of wide receiver. Round 2, they go Tuli Tuipulotu, edge from USC. One of my favorite edge players, and I'm very pissed the Chargers took him. Day 3, Deion Henley, linebacker from Washington State. Another pick, you guessed it, that I absolutely loved, and then the freaking Chargers took him. Round 4, Darius Davis, wide receiver from TCU, kind of an underrated receiver. Let's see what he could develop to be for the Chargers. Round 5, Jordan McFadden, tackle from Clemson. A very underrated pick. I think they did extremely well with that. Round 6, Scott Matlock, D-tackle from Boise State. And round 7, they get their backup quarterback, Max Duggan, quarterback from TCU. And be prepared, Max. You are the career backup. That sucks. But other than that, I think the Chargers are one of those teams that also had a very, very good draft. They didn't overdraft. They didn't reach for anybody. They found the value, and they didn't overthink it. I think this is one of the critical things about teams is when they overthink on drafting certain picks.
Yep.
Don't overthink it. If the value is there, and it could fill a need, it might not fill a need, but just take the value. And that's what they did with pretty much their whole draft. So I got to say, they did a tremendous job here.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. I've already raved about guys like Johnston, guys like, it's horrible with names. Tuipulotu. Henley. I've already raved about these guys in previous shows, so I won't go too deep other than saying I really like all these picks. But in round 4, Darius Davis, I believe this guy is actually a kick returning specialist. And he has 8 career kick return touchdowns. He had 3 last season. He had 5 in the seasons prior. That's what they're getting him for. Getting explosive guys all over the place, even on special teams, can be almost like a underrated thing in terms of overall draft looks. No one's really gonna look at this guy initially, but maybe once he returns one to the house, people will start kind of being like, oh, who's that guy? All right, into our next team,
Los Angeles Rams.
Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, so they didn't have a day 1 pick, but they had a crap ton of other picks. Round 2, they go Steve Avila, guard from TCU. Round 3, they go Byron Young, edge, the one from Tennessee, not the one from Alabama. Round 3, they go Kobe Turner, D-tackle, Wake Forest. Round 4, they go Stetson Bennett, quarterback from Georgia. Round 5, they go Nick Hampton, edge, Appalachian State. Round 5, they go Warren McClendon, tackle from Georgia. Round 5 as well, they go Davis Allen, tight end, Clemson. Round 5 as well, Puka Nukwa, wide receiver from BYU. Round 6, they go Travis Hodges Tomlinson, corner from TCU. Round 6, they go Ochan Mathis, edge from Nebraska. Round 6 again, they go Zach Evans, running back, Ole Miss. Round 7 again, they go Ethan Evans, punter from Wingate. Interesting. Round 7 as well, they go Jason Taylor II, safety, Oklahoma State. Round 7 again, they go Alex Austin, corner from Oregon State. Round 7 to finish it off, they go Dejuan Johnson, edge from Toledo. Whew, that is a laundry list of players, my friends.
For a team
And
that needs
I'm
it.
just going to point out the ones that I liked real quick.
Late rounders too.
Steve Avila, guard from TCU, was a very good pick for them. They got to re-up that offensive line. They got to get more protection up front. Byron Young, edge from Tennessee. This was the guy that I really liked, not the other Byron Young from Alabama. This dude is a absolute insane being coming off the edge. He makes a lot of plays in the backfield. Look for him to do the same with the Rams. Other than that, I see a lot of the guys as potential players at the next level. Nick Hampton is one of them, but I do like what he can bring to the Rams. Other than that, look down the list here. One other guy I want to point out is Alex Austin, corner from Oregon State. A guy that I can definitely see at the next level. Yeah, he's a little short, but I think his coverage ability is crazy. I mean, he's very quick. He has the speed. He can contest balls, and he did a phenomenal job at Oregon State. I think the Rams saw this too and were surprised that he was there, and they just took him. A guy that's at the very least will be a depth piece for you to rotate in. If anything, if he is to hit on all cylinders, this guy can be a starter down the road.
Makes sense. All right, we got another comment rolling in from the one and only Tom Leiter.
What's going on, Tom?
Said, sometimes we're looking at next year's free agents and what position you are going to replace. So start development today when drafting.
He just says it's not always about this year. That's the
It's
thing
true.
too. With certain regimes though too, when you have certain installments that have been there, and have a plan or just get there and they have length for a plan, it matters. Some of these guys that are struggling to keep their job, like when Washington Commanders, Ron Rivera, I think is on his way out this year. So, if they're developing or trying to get players that are developing years after, it
it's
is
for
going to
the new
matter because he's going to be
regimes.
gone by then.
Yeah.
So.
And that happens
I
with
hear
every
what
team.
Tom's saying, though. Definitely. And like we said multiple times, you guys have your opinion on guys. You guys were different with your different opinions of certain players and stuff. But with them and their scouts going all around and what they think, what personality type of guys too as well, character guys. It's whoever they like, and maybe they see something different that other people
Right.
don't see. They get to get really hands on with the guys. You guys are watching film that you get to see, or when they're playing. So,
Yeah, we don't get to actually meet the players, know what they're
yeah,
like.
if everyone was a
mentalities and
gem,
everything.
they'd all be rich.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about the draft is because even with you have a lot of picks in day 3, say, and you get some guys that you think they have potential, and maybe they can pan out, maybe they won't. But it's the fact that they believe in these players, and they think that with their coaching, with their training, that they're going to get them up to a certain level to where they're going to either participate or find some kind of a cog in the scheme of things where they can make a difference.
Yeah. As before we switch off, I think the Rams, I'd say it started good. If you asked me after day 2 what I thought of their draft, to be like, I think they're doing pretty good so far. They got a couple guys I could see turning into starters.
Yep.
And then after that, they're like, well, our roster is so bad all around. Let's just get a bunch of guys with potential. If a couple of them pan out, maybe we could start, rebuilding in the next draft.
But that's the thing.
Real bad.
That's the thing is that's why they had to, because they didn't have a lot of high-end picks.
So you get what
they're
you
taking
get.
they're taking these
Loaded up on
chances.
potential.
They're taking these chances on potential players.
So they
Now,
have.
if they're lucky enough and half of them pan out, that's a huge
Yeah,
turnaround.
yeah.
So let's see what the Rams can do with that talent.
Yeah, it's the thing. A lot of picks, but way later.
Oh, yeah. All right, so into our next team, a team that I know Joe is very opinionated on how they draft. We have the Raiders.
Las Vegas Raiders, yep. So they started off with round 1, pick 7. They get Tyree Wilson, edge from Texas Tech. Round 2, they trade up in this scenario. They get Michael Mayer, tight end from Notre Dame. Round 3, they go Brian Young, D lineman from Alabama. They go round 3 again. They go Trey Tucker, wide receiver from Cincinnati. Round 4, they go Jacorian Bennett, corner from Maryland. Round 4 again, they go Aiden O'Connell, quarterback from Purdue. Round 5, they go Chris Smith, the safety from Georgia. Round 6, they go Amari Burney, linebacker from Florida. And then round 7, to finish it off, they go Nasta Jade Severa, D tackle from Arizona State. I had to do some digging on some of these players, but I will say this. If you're a Raiders fan, There is literally like four picks that they made in this draft where I go and I'm like, okay, I could see that player developing to become a starter. I could see the difference maker that they could potentially be. With the first 2 picks, you don't have to question that. Tyree Wilson, edge from Texas Tech. We've probably talked about him at nausea. And then Michael Mayer as well, a guy that everybody is high on. I'm not as high on him. I had him as my 3rd rated tight end. But it's the only thing that with Michael Mayer sometimes for me is that I worry about him at the next level in terms of creating separation. Because in college, it's pretty easy to do. College, they play a lot of zone. So he just kind of found those holes and just exposed them all. So I kind of worry about that at the next level where it's more intricate, more detailed. But we'll see. A lot of people, love this pick. They say this is an amazing pick, and a lot of people I included, thought he was going to go in round 1. Didn't think he was going to be there. So this was a value pick for the Raiders. Same thing with Wilson. They said they had 4 guys on the board. Let's see which one of the 4 falls to them. Wilson was one. After that, in round 3, I scratched my head. Brian Young from Alabama, a guy that I thought could go in the 5th round or maybe even the 6th, a guy that they could get later. I thought with that pick right there, they should have went linebacker, should have went Trenton Simpson, somebody. Give me somebody in the linebacking core because they don't have any. But they didn't go there. Instead, I feel like they reached there. Trey Tucker, a glorified returner. I don't know if he's going to develop into a slot receiver at the next level, but guy with extreme speed and quickness. Round 4, they got Jacorian Bennett. This is one of the guys that I really liked. Corner from Maryland. Yes, he has short arms, but man, his coverage ability is crazy. Got overlooked because of Deonte Banks, but did not allow a single touchdown last season in college. So that was something that they liked. Yeah. Round 4, Aiden O'Connell from Purdue. A guy that I see the potential, and I'm not a fan of guys that aren't mobile. I like mobile quarterbacks. This guy is the opposite of that. He is a premier pocket passer, but yes, great accuracy. From the neck up, he's got everything that you love in a quarterback: smarts, quick release, all that. I just don't know what's going to happen at the next level for him in terms of getting away from pressure. Round 5, Chris Smith, undervalued pick. I cannot believe that he was there. Safety from Georgia. Just phenomenal value there for me. And other than that, you got a lot of developmental guys that showed glimpses of becoming something and then transferred somewhere and then not a whole lot. There's something to work with, but definitely developmental players. So other than the 4 guys like Jacorian Bennett, Mayer, Wilson, and Smith, those are the ones that I like. Other than that, I felt that they reached a lot.
Yeah, I don't think this team drafted, at least initially, a lot of guys who we're going to be seeing in like the starting lineup. Even as much as I really like Michael Mayer, I guess if you're looking at like day 1 needs right now, this is a guy who at least at first is going to be sitting behind Hooper until he's inevitably hurt like the last 2 seasons. But this is a very good player. It's just, maybe not your biggest need. Wilson, that's just going to be a great pick. Chandler Jones on his way out. There's not much more to put on that. And then after that, it's just like they did a very mediocre job of value drafting, at least on day 2. Day 3, they started hitting more guys with high potential, guys who are sitting in the draft. The end of day 2 is just like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you drafting even the best kick returner?
Right.
The 3rd best kick returner, who's even a worse receiver than the other returner. It's just like, why? Why is this who you're taking? And Young, you said enough about Young. He's not a guy who should have went on day 2.
No, he's a run stopper that they believe they can develop his pass rush game, because you saw like at Alabama they did rotate players and everything, but I think late in the college football season that they started to notice when he was in there that he really was starting to get after the quarterback. He had 28 pressures last year, and they think that he could be more than just a run stopper at the next level. We'll see. I don't know. But you picked him at 3rd. It better pan out. That's all I know. Other than that, I think Chris Smith could be a starting safety for them. I think that Jacorian Bennett probably will fight for the starting job because
you guys don't have
a ton of competition there. So other than that, they got some starters. Let's see how the rest of the draft picks pan out. But now we're on to
the Miami Dolphins. A
Miami
team
Dolphins, the most limited of
Yeah.
picks. Didn't have round 1. They had a round 2 pick. They take Cam Smith, corner from South Carolina. Round 3, they go Devon Achane, running back from Texas A&M. Round 6, yes, they didn't have a 4 or a 5. They go round 6 to Elijah Higgins, tight end from Stanford. And then round 7, to finish it off, they go Ryan Hayes, tackle from Michigan. All of these picks with such limited picks and later picks at that. Round 2 and round 3, they really kind of nailed on value.
home runs.
Cam Smith going to be a starter for them. Maybe not right away, but he will be for them. Devon Achane, great running back that they're going to have at their disposal to team them up with all that other speed that they got. And then Elijah Higgins, tight end from Stanford. I really dig it. The guy that can block. He was a converted wide receiver, went to tight end, and he can do everything well at the next level. Definitely has to refine some things. And then Ryan Hayes, tackle from Michigan. Very, very solid pick, especially in round 7. A guy that could develop very easily as a starter for them.
We go. We
We
got,
got Mike Tackett's in the house with us tonight, you guys.
Yep.
What's going on, Mike?
He's saying Eagles had a hell of a draft. Do
Yes,
you
they
guys
did.
think Howie Roseman is making all the right moves this offseason, or do you guys think it's more hype than productive moves?
We'll get to that.
Well, I think it's productive moves again, because
Yep.
when you look at what he's got and what the team's already been doing this past season, looks good already. We've seen the Eagles teams where they've drafted again, Nnamdi Asomugha, Vince, Young and things like that. When it seemed like it was like an all-star team, like here we go, they're gonna pile it on, and here they go. We've already seen this team do well last season. Now you add these other pieces here they already had good depth. Now
Yep.
they're adding these other pieces on top of it, even via trades or the draft. I think it's just only going to make them better.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are a team that it's hard to say a team that was in the Super Bowl is trending up, but they will get to, their picks in the draft, but they did an excellent job in this draft. They picked a lot of guys who are going to be coming in and immediately making impacts.
Which we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll get to, the specific players and all. But Eagles, I don't think they're just hype. To answer his question, I think this is a team that's going to continue competing for like Super Bowl caliber for multiple seasons to come. Yep, and one last touch on the Miami Dolphins. I'm only even going to mention rounds 2 and 3. Cam Smith, this is a great pick here. I believe he's more of a zone specialist right now, who's a little raw in man coverage. But this is a guy who's probably going to come in immediately, maybe get worked into like the slot spot and then become a starter shortly after. So that's a very good round 2 pick. And this guy's one of my favorite running backs in the entire draft. So to see him go in round 3, I think the Dolphins did excellent here. And they already have one of the fastest offenses in the entire NFL. And when you're adding one of the fastest and most explosive running backs from this class into that already insane group, I think their offense is just going to continue getting better and better, and even just cool to see. It's always awesome. It was cool to see last season. I just hope Tua doesn't have the concussion issues this year, of course. All right. And into our next team, we have the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, Minnesota Vikings, they started off with a bang. And in round 1 take Jordan Addison, wide receiver from USC. Didn't have a round 2 pick, so they go to round 3. They get Mekhi Blackman, corner from USC. Round 4, they go Jay Ward, safety from LSU. Round 5, they go Jacqueline Roy, D tackle from LSU. Round 5 again, they go Jaron Hall, quarterback from BYU. And then Dwayne McBride, running back from UAB. I'll say that they had a couple of nice steals later in the draft. Addison, I think they reached on. I don't think he was worth that first-round pick. Mekhi Blackman, developmental corner, has some speed, but he has limitations too. I think that was kind of too rich for me as well. Jay Ward is kind of like an underrated type of safety. I think he can do a lot of things well, and at the next level, he could find himself a starting spot. They stay with the theme at LSU, go with Roy at D tackle, another guy that I think has potential to become a starter down the road. And Jaron Hall, I'll say the quarterback from BYU was the only one out of my honorable mentions. I think he has the capability going to be at least a very solid backup. And if he can, develop right, he could be a sneaky starter down the road. And to finish it off, Dwayne McBride, running back from UAB, a guy that was kind of underrated, ends up going all the way in round 7. They got themselves some true value there.
All right, I guess the only 2 picks I believe are, noteworthy. I think Addison has a better chance to succeed. If I had to put him on a perfect team, the Vikings might have been it because he doesn't have a lot of pressure immediately. You already got Jefferson, you already got Osborne, so Addison's falling into a complementary receiver role, which is where I believe his ceiling is. He could be a very good complementary guy because he's shifty despite not being crazy explosive, and he is a solid route runner. And then I liked the round 5 pick of Jacqueline Roy. I believe he made my top 10. I think he's a player with a lot of potential, very explosive off the snap. It's just, we'll see if he can reach that or if he just falls into that backup role. Oh, I did miss a comment. All right, into our next team. We have the New England Patriots.
The New England Patriots get on here, and they're surprised that Christian Gonzalez, the corner from Oregon, slides to them in round 1. Round 2, they go Keon White, edge from Georgia Tech. Round 3, they go Marte Mapu, safety from Sacramento State. Round 4, they go Jake Andrews, guard from Troy. Round 4, again, they go Chad Ryland, kicker from Maryland. Round 4, again, they go City Sau, guard from Eastern Michigan. Round 5, they go Antonio Mafi, offensive line from UCLA. Round 6, they go Keyshawn Butte, wide receiver from LSU. Round 6, again, they go Bryce Behringer, punter from Michigan State. They are really building the special teams. Round 6, they go Demario Douglas, wide receiver from Liberty. Round 6, they go Amir Speed, corner from Michigan State. And then to finish it off, they got Isaiah Bolden, corner from Jackson State. So they had a lot of picks. They made a lot of picks.
Yeah.
And for the Patriots, the first 2 rounds, they didn't screw up, I feel like, for them. If Keon White was going to go anywhere in round 2, Patriots are the perfect spot for him where they can really develop him and develop his pass rushing skills better. Gonzalez, they were surprised that he slid down. But, again, this goes to show you that a lot of teams viewed Gonzalez as not the, high-end type of corner. There must be something up with Christian in order for him to slide that far. So, Patriots are happy to grab him. And then other than that, you see a lot of what the Patriots normally do. A lot of picks that are potential, that are developmental guys that they believe in. And let's see if they pan out. The only other guy that I'll kind of bring up is the guard from Eastern Michigan in City Sau. A guy that is very athletic for a guard, has power. I think he could develop nicely for them, possibly a starter down the road.
Yeah, this is more of a outside of the first 2 picks. It's very, very Patriot. It's not very exciting. There's not going to be guys we could rave on or talk about. Gonzalez, we've already kind of went at length of how this guy his potential is through the roof. Maybe teams are looking at him more of his potential's through the roof. But, all these other corners, their potential's higher, so they didn't see his value that high. But Patriots, I think that's an excellent pick there. Keon White, I think day 2 is solid for him, and to go to a team that hopefully Belichick can work with him and develop him correctly. This guy, he's literally just all potential. You haven't seen a lot. He's had a handful of good games to give him some solid stats. And other than that, there's not really anyone that's very noteworthy in my opinion. So on to our next one, we have the New York Giants.
The G-Men. They start off the round in round 1, and they get Deonte Banks, the corner from Maryland. Holy crap, how did he fall that far? Man, what a steal for the Giants. Guy that's going to definitely be a starter for them. Round 2, they got John Michael Schmitz, and it doesn't stop there. The center from Minnesota. This is another starter for them. Hands down, blue chip players, both of them. Great job by the Giants. And in round 3, they go Jalen Hyatt, a wide receiver from Tennessee, a guy that's just an absolute blazer. Definitely needs to work on his route running a little bit better at the next level. And they're going to do that. He will develop better, and he will become a good receiver for them. Don't know how good, but we will see at the next level. Round 5, they go Eric Gray, running back, Oklahoma. Round 6, Trey Hawkins, safety from Old Dominion. Round 7, they go Jordan Riley, D tackle from Oregon. And then round 7 to finish it off, they got Jervarius Owens, safety from Houston. I'll start off by saying, obviously, the first 3 picks I'm a fan of. I think they got themselves starters at the next level. Hyatt maybe a little bit later down the road, but other than that, solid pickups. And then I would say in round 7, their last pick, Gervarius Owens, safety out of Houston. This is a guy that is, yes, he still needs some things to work on, but definitely think this is a steal here in round 7 for him. So I really like him. At the very least, he'll be a special teams weapon, but at the same time, definitely can develop to kind of break rotation and get on the field for sure.
You know, before I get into the Giants, Paul Matty chimed in. He said, yo,
What up, Paul?
what helmet is that? I guess the only new one here is the Giants one, but he might be looking
He's
at
looking at the one that's different.
in the middle that's
That's
a
the
little
Miami
less
Dolphins.
like to know.
That is
Yeah.
Xavier Howard autographed Miami Dolphins helmet. Alternate helmet, I should say.
Very dope. So, to start us off, the Giants, I was very nervous in round 1. Joe definitely saw me sitting at the edge like, please don't mess it up.
Everybody,
Please don't mess
he
it
was
up.
sweating profusely. He was just like bowing his head a lot. Didn't even know whether to look at the TV or just wait to listen for it.
I didn't want to be disappointed, and I very much wasn't. I really like Deonte Banks. I think he's going to turn into a great number 2 corner behind Adoree for us. Maybe even a number 1 down the line once Adoree leaves. John Michael Schmitz, I could throw a party for that pick. I would have been okay with him at the 24th spot. So at the 57 spot, that is excellent. Number 1 center in the draft. Day 1 starter with no competition behind him. Easy one. While I wasn't a huge fan of Hyatt, that was mainly on like a round 1, round 2 grade. Round 3, I don't think that's horrible value, and we're getting a guy who's very explosive, known for his big plays, going into an offense that was one of the worst in the NFL last season at creating big plays. And we were very methodical. We had maybe like 3 plays all year that were longer than 20 yards. You know, it's very much, 5-yard gain here, 6 here. So Hyatt's coming in to kind of try and give more explosiveness to our offense. Eric Gray, he's an interesting player. If you watch his tape, he's very shifty, he has great vision. He's just not fast. Every time you'll see him make a guy miss, and then he gets caught in the open field because he just can't outrun the safeties, the corners, because he's only running a 4.6. He almost gives me vibes like a kind of like a James Robinson like player. Player's not as explosive, but his vision and initial shiftiness kind of gives him an edge to get a good yards per carry. I think he's going to be a decent backup for us. Hawkins is all potential for us, and he's more of a corner than a safety. But he's kind of just built well. There's not a lot of production. He was torched a good chunk at Old Dominion, but he's like 6'2", 205. We can hopefully develop him into something. Jordan Riley, I don't even really know why we picked him. He's maybe going to push DJ Davidson for like a backup roster spot at best. I don't foresee seeing this guy on the field much. But Owens, I could see him maybe being a sneaky pick in the 7th. That could almost fight his way into the lineup if maybe we aren't really sold on like a McCain there. He's coming into a weak position. McCain and Pinnock aren't really guys known for being dominant safeties. So Owens could be a guy that sneaks into our starting lineup. So, I mean, overall, for the first time in a while, I could say I'm pretty happy with this draft.
All I have to say is my man Jimmy had ice in his veins during the Giants draft. Wasn't bothered by anything. Wasn't worried about it because he knew. He knew the new regime was going to handle it. And they did, didn't they, Jimmy?
Yep.
All right.
Not worried.
Into our next one, the other New York team. We got the New York Football Jets.
The Jets.
Said a New York Football.
I know.
That's
I
crazy.
know.
It's weird.
I'm mixing it up, man.
So weird.
Oh,
It's
man.
this half
doesn't
a
even-
beer I've drank.
Doesn't
I
even
guess.
sound right.
I know.
How dare you? Round 1, they start off with Will McDonald, the 4th, edge from Iowa State. Round 2, they go Joe Tippmann, center from Wisconsin. Round 4, they go Carter Warren, tackle from Pittsburgh. Round 5, they go Israel Abanikanda, running back from Pittsburgh. Round 6, they go Zaire Barnes, linebacker from Penn State. Round 6, again, they go Jarek Bernard Converse. What a name. Corner from LSU. And then round 7, they finish off with Zach Kuntz, tight end from Old Dominion. What I'll say about this draft for the Jets is I was a little confused. Round 1 at pick 15, Will McDonald goes, and I thought he was going to go in the first round, but not that high. A guy that is purely just a pass rusher, and it's kind of like, it's funny because they already have a pass rusher in Jermaine Johnson with not exact but similar body type, so I'm just kind of a little worried or concerned for like what the Jets were looking at here when they could have drafted someone that could really help, at a different spot maybe. Other than that, Joe Tippmann, the center from Wisconsin, I think is a really good pick. I think a lot of people had him kind of pushed into like bottom of the first, but he ends up going round 2 right to them. Great for them. They get themselves a starter there. And after that, you got a few guys like Israel, the running back from Pitt. Pretty good. He's going to be part of that solid rotation for them. And then a lot of guys that are developmental after that. I like Zach Kuntz, the tight end. You can't teach size. The guy is super tall. He's got long arms. He's got size. He even has speed to go with it. So something that they can work with at the next level.
Yeah, I think the Jets did decent. I mean, it's not like I think Will McDonald or Tippmann are like bad players. When I pointed out like their needs, I'm like, edge wasn't one of them. And at pick 15, there was a lot of very good players left. So to get a Will McDonald is like, if you wanted him, cool, but why didn't you at least trade back, get some more picks or something? Like, it just didn't really make much sense at 15. And Tippmann in the second round, while I didn't have him valued over like Michael Schmitz, he's a very good center. I think the only knock people had on him was just he's built like a tackle. The dude's huge.
Yeah,
he's like 6'6". He's lengthy. And you don't see that at center. At center, you get more. You're like 6'3", 6'2", guys who are built more like bowling balls.
All I know is that if Joe Tippmann was the center for the Panthers, it would be a problem.
It would be a huge problem.
With the rookie.
You wouldn't be able to see over him. Be like, all right, I got the snap under center, and
can't
we're
see
immediately
anything.
rolling out because that's it. Yeah, other than that, I think they had a pretty pedestrian draft. The only guy who's notable is a guy who's going to be probably a third-string running back, so I won't even go too much into notes. We're probably not going to see that guy anytime soon.
No.
So next up, we have the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, the Saints, they start off in round 1. They get Brian Brzee, D tackle from Clemson at pick 29. Round 2, they go Isaiah Foskey, edge from Notre Dame. Round 3, they go Keandre Miller, running back from TCU. Round 4, they go Nick Salvaderi, offensive tackle from Old Dominion. Round 4, they go Jake Hayner, quarterback from Fresno State. Round 5, they go Jordan Howden, safety from Minnesota. Round 6, where it gets interesting, they go A.T. Perry, wide receiver from Wake Forest, a guy that both me and Cody were high on.
Blown.
And round 7, they go Alex Forsyth, center from Oregon. Overall, I feel like they did a good job in this draft. They got a lot of value, and then they also filled a little bit of needs here and there. So what was interesting to me is like we kind of saw Brzee falling in the first round. We just didn't know exactly what team. We thought the Saints might be one of them, and sure enough, that's what panned out. So good on the Saints, and a guy that doesn't have to be forced into starting right away. Like he's going to be definitely a contender for the starting job, but a guy that isn't going to have to be pushed right away. A guy that is still kind of getting his feet underneath him and from his injury. Other than that, Isaiah Foskey I thought was kind of a little surprise in round 2. I thought maybe he might go round 3 or something like that, but Saints must have found something to like, and maybe it's also to help out Brian Brzee if they need him to. Other than that, I really like Jake Hayner. Jake Hayner, a quarterback from Fresno State, a guy that is going to be a very, very good backup quarterback for the Saints. If Carr happens to get hurt, Hayner's going to come in, and you're not going to miss much because other than the size of him, he does everything extremely well. Like if it wasn't for his size, and a lot of people even question his arm sometimes, which is kind of weird. But there were people, naysayers out there, and I just don't see it. The guy is super accurate, does everything well, and he has some mobility, which you gotta like. So overall, I think the Saints nailed this draft for them for their own purposes, and they're ready for next season.
Yep, they did a very good job in the beginning of addressing, their D-line. It's been, deteriorating over the last couple seasons. They're starting to lack in depth. And the first 2 picks, they do a great job of kind of getting some of that D-line back and maybe even starting to push into a very good D-line again, for the first time in a while, minus just Cameron Jordan being scary and everyone else kind of existing. Miller, that's a pretty solid pick. We always have, whether it's legal issues, or things, usually just off the field concerns with Kamara. It's good to get a very good backup that you like. And while I wasn't a big fan of a lot of their day 3 guys, the pick I loved was A.T. Perry. I very much like this player. I don't have many question marks about him. I think we're going to see him earlier rather than later in this depth chart. And that is just unfathomable steal. There were kick returners drafted over this man. And this is, I don't see
There was
holes.
punters and kickers
Yeah.
selected over them.
I don't see holes in his game. He is tall. He's not too skinny. He runs good routes. He finds the holes in the zone. Something you can't teach receivers. What am I missing? There's no red flags, people. Come on. When this guy's on the field, I want to send a message out to these other scouts and GMs and be like, yo, maybe you should hire me because apparently I'm the only one that put on my glasses when I watched his tape. Come on. This wasn't that hard to see. All right. And with my little tangent being over, we'll move into the team that Mike Tackett wanted to talk about. Philadelphia
Eagles. Let's go. Round 1. Unbelievable. I cannot believe the Eagles had the drafts that they had. If there hasn't ever been a perfect draft, this was damn near close to it. Round 1, they go Jalen Carter, D tackle from Georgia. They trade up from 10 to 9 and get their D tackle. Round 1, at the end, almost the very end, 30th pick, Nolan Smith, edge from Georgia. Round 3, they got Tyler Steen, tackle from Alabama. Round 3 again, they go Sidney Brown, safety from Illinois.
Yep. Round
4, they go Kaylee Ringo, corner from Georgia. Round 6, they go Tanner McKee, quarterback from Stanford. And round 7, they go Moro Ajomo, D tackle from Texas. And all I have to say is that I think every single pick that the Eagles made was spot on. Unbelievable value. Not even, and this is how they can get away with it. They're a Super Bowl caliber team, doesn't have any holes, and they have the amount of picks that they had was insane. 2 number 1s, and they get 2 starting caliber defensive players is insane. I'm interested to see what they do with Nolan Smith, because a lot of people are speculating, are they going to keep him at edge? Are they going to put him as an off-ball outside linebacker? He can do everything. So that'll be interesting to see what the Eagles do with him. Other than that, Sidney Brown, you kidding me? Solid safety. Definitely can start for them. Kaylee Ringo, a guy that I'm wondering how they're going to use him. I kind of view him as a safety at the next level. I think he would be better apt for that than corner. And then Moro Ajomo, round 7, a developmental D tackle that they can definitely utilize later on down the road. McKee, career backup.
Yeah.
And is going to be a solid one for them. And then Tyler Steen. Tyler Steen is kind of like the unsung hero in this whole draft. We all know Carter, we all know Smith, but Tyler Steen actually was, in my view, one of the best tackles coming out. And for them to get him with the 3rd pick, oh my God, did they get value? So up and down the board, tremendous value. Best pick of this draft, hands down.
This is just how you stay at the top. If you want to build a dynasty, you got to start dominating drafts. And the Eagles showed that and then some in this draft, kicking it off by, hey, we lost some of our D-line. We still have a bunch of guys who had over 10 sacks, but let's draft 2 of the scariest guys in the draft and just see what happens. And, oh, cool, they're from Georgia, too. We love Georgia. So, they grabbed them. Great start. Steen's probably going to come in, be a guy who's competing right away for a starting spot. Sidney Brown just shouldn't have been there at that point in the 3rd round.
The draft is just insane.
Yeah. And then they actually traded a 3rd round pick for a 4th round pick in order to acquire Kaylee Ringo. They traded away a next year's 3rd because they really like this player. I think what they're going to do with him is maybe use him as a developmental corner. I don't know if we're going to see him a lot this season. I think this is their way of getting ready. They like this player a year or 2 down the line. They know, their corners are already debating leaving. We thought Slay was leaving. We thought some of these guys were going to be out in the offseason.
And they weren't. They just came back.
These guys, they're not going to be here forever. And that's why they draft a guy like Ringo. They think this guy can turn into, the next, lockdown corner for them, He's just not there right now. But I think the Eagles, it infuriates me to say because they were a Super Bowl team, but they had one of the best drafts in terms of just getting starters, getting value, getting backups. I really wish they did worse. I think I was getting angry just about every time I saw them pick. Like, stop doing so well. I don't like it. All right, on to our next team. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pittsburgh Steelers is another team that kind of hit it out of the park in terms of drafting. Round 1, they go Broderick Jones, tackle from Georgia. Round 2, they go Joey Porter Jr., corner from Penn State, a legacy pick. His dad played for the Steelers. Now, how cool is it that his son is also going to be a Steeler?
Yep.
A lot of emotion when we saw that. Round 2, again, they go Keanu Benton, D tackle from Wisconsin. Round 3, they go with Darnell Washington, tight end from Georgia. Round 4, they go Nick Herberg, edge from Wisconsin. Round 7, they go Corey Trice, corner from Purdue. And round 7, they go Spencer Anderson, tackle from Maryland. Great job, Steelers. That's all I got to say. Like, a tremendous job. They really did their homework. They get Jones, a guy that's going to start for them for the next 10 to 15 years. Porter fits this defense to a T. Like, he's just going to slide right into start right away.
All our complaints
Amazing,
about him are
amazing
not even gonna
value.
matter.
What I'm actually curious about is Keanu Benton, D tackle from Wisconsin, a guy that I really liked, going to the perfect situation again. This guy is going to be absolutely an animal for Pittsburgh. Guy can do everything well. Darnell Washington, the surprise of the draft, for him to slide to pick 93 in the third round.
Apparently.
We heard after the draft, as people were wondering, even during, and Adam Schefter reported that there was a concern with his knees, that they're not sure how concerning it is injury wise, or can he play right now? But they noticed that after games that his knees swell, so that was a little bit of a concern for a lot of teams. And listen, falls right to the Steelers. They don't need him to play right away. They got Pat Freiermuth, and they don't have to pressure him into that situation. So good on them. Nick Herberg, another perfect player for the Steelers, pass rusher off the edge. Great draft. And then Corey Trice. I cannot believe Corey Trice was around in round 7. A guy that could definitely develop to be a shutdown corner for the Steelers.
Yeah, I think this is a team that just every round they were finding value.
Crazy.
Like, it was nuts. Broderick Jones was my number 1 tackle coming out, so good for the Steelers.
Yeah, another team that didn't overthink.
Yeah, just you see the talent there, get it. You kind of need it, you kind of don't. Doesn't matter. Get him while he's there. Joey Porter, while we weren't like super high on him, he's going to a team where he's not
Perfect
going
fit.
to be asked to be like a lockdown man corner.
Perfect fit.
Yeah. Great spot for him. Benton, he's going on to an already pretty deep D line. He's not going to be doubled much. And this is a
That's
scary
scary.
guy one-on-one. Because if you double him, you're leaving superstars to come after you in one-on-one matchups. You can't. And then Washington in the third. Me and Joe just kept looking at each other like, yo, why are all of these tight ends, guys that we had barely as honorable mentions, going before our number 1 tight end? What's happening? He had me going all over my phone, searching through rumors until I found the knee issues. Whatever. I don't care about the knee issues, especially if you're bringing him in at the
Wait till he's
number
healthy.
2 at the start. This guy is a freak.
Just wait till he's healthy.
He's fast. He's big. He can block. There's not really red flags other than his knees swell up a little bit.
Yeah.
Does he have an injury history? No, he doesn't. I'm sold right there.
Right.
End it right there. Has he been hurt? No, he's been playing. Tucker Kraft, has he been hurt?
Isn't
yes, and he was drafted before him.
So that's the interesting part about the draft, is when you see players that have injuries or injury concerns coming out into the draft, and they slide just because of the concern. But it's only a concern. It's not like, he has chronic knee issues and he's never going to be able to play again. It's just he has a little bit of concern with the knees. Why do I just question this every single year? Teams let guys slide just because, he tore his ACL. Okay, so how good of a player is he? He's top 10. But why is he going in the third round?
Yeah.
Because he tore his ACL? Guys do it all the time, year in and year out. So why not take the talent, wait a year,
just for a concern,
and then have him for the following year? I just don't get it.
Yep. And then other than that, I really like the Herbig pick in round 4.
For the Steelers, perfect.
Yeah, that's a guy who probably should have went on day 2. And you see, certain positions still being devalued, as he's kind of a guy that likes to kind of bounce between like middle linebacker even and then edge. He's kind of another one of those tweener players.
He's a scheme-specific player.
Yeah.
So only like maybe a handful of teams were going to be in on him, and Steelers were one of them. Perfect fit.
Yeah, excellent job overall. As we move on to our next team, we have the Seattle Seahawks.
Another team that kind of just destroyed the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, they really, really did an amazing job. Round 1, they go Devon Witherspoon, corner from Illinois. I felt like he could go even earlier than pick 5. I thought Arizona might even be interested. So for the Seattle Seahawks to get him, oh my God. Round 1 as well, they go Jackson Smith and Jibba, wide receiver from Ohio State. Round 2, they go Derek Hall, edge from Auburn. Round 2 as well, they go Zach Charbonnet, running back from UCLA. Round 4, they go Anthony Bradford, offensive lineman from LSU. Round 4 again, they go Cameron Young, D-line, Mississippi State. Round 5, they go Mike Morris, edge from Michigan. Round 5, they go Olusu Oluwatimi, center from Michigan. Round 6, they go Jarek Reed, the second, safety from New Mexico. And then to finish it off, Kenny McIntosh, running back from Georgia. All I have to say is that if 3 years down the road, I think it's possible that Seattle could come away with all starters in this draft. They're all that talented. Witherspoon, definite. Smith and Jibba, definite. Hall is going to be an edge rusher for them. Definitely could see him out there a lot more. Charbonnet in the rotation at running back. Bradford, starting capability as an offensive lineman, probably a guard. Cameron Young, D-line from Mississippi State, something they needed, and a guy that they could develop to be a starter. Mike Morris is surprising to me. He went all the way down to 5th round. He's another guy that could develop. And then the center from Michigan, oh my God, starter worthy. Like he could start right away even. Jarek Reed, safety from New Mexico, down the road maybe. And then Kenny McIntosh, another running back they take. And they take these guys with value. And they take them and they bring them in. And maybe they might need him, maybe they might not. But he's part of the team. He's going to be part of the rotation. Great job by Seattle.
Yep, and speaking of people who agree with your picks, we have Tom Leiter chiming in with Seattle has a habit of drafting great players in the 5th. Olu, Remington, Outland, and Joe Moore Award winning center is a stud and fills a need.
100%.
As you just went on with, you didn't understand why he slid this far. He's
it.
going to be probably a guy who's like a day 1 starter. In Seattle...
What?
Tom just commented. He said, "Jimmy, get a haircut."
I was wondering. I was like, I didn't say anything. I'm funny.
Don't be jealous.
There you go.
Yeah, Seattle, they're a team who is already a very good team who overcame our expectations, and they're only getting better. This receiving core is now terrifying, like top 3 even maybe in the NFL going forward. Like they are insane. Witherspoon and Woolen, good luck. I'm not going to be excited, when like the Giants have to play that, 'cause it's going to be a rough day. Derek Hall, another great pick, a guy we both really liked, and to get him in round 2 at 37, that's just another good value pick for them. Charbonnet, well, you're like, they have a running back. That's a very good backup, and if Walker needs to spill out, if he gets hurt,
right, rotation.
You got the hardest running back in this draft. That guy, he does not shy away from contact. He's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt to tackle that guy,
or he's going to get hurt either way.
He could get hurt.
A lot of these physical guys, they come in thinking they're going to run through people.
Yep. Then other than that, we've already touched on Olu and Bradford. While it's a little more of like a potential to be very good at guard, it's very high potential. This is a guy who I believe he played a lot of tackle, guard. He played all over the place. You have the flexibility. He's probably going to fall into the guard spot because he struggled a little bit at tackle. But this is a guy who could very easily turn into a starter. And to get that in round 4 is always excellent.
Yeah, Tom just says Seattle, San Francisco, and Philadelphia now or own the NFC.
It's becoming true. I can hope the Giants
And
own something eventually.
Let's see San Francisco's draft here. Didn't have the first 2 picks, so they didn't have a first or second. They start off in round 3 with Jair Brown, safety from Penn State. Round 3 again, they go Jake Moody, kicker from Michigan. Round 3 again, they go Cam Latu, tight end from Alabama. Round 5, they go Darrell Luter Jr., corner from South Alabama. Round 5, they go Robert Beal Jr., edge from Georgia. Round 6, they go D. Winters, linebacker from TCU. Round 7, they go Braden Willis, tight end from Oklahoma. Round 7 again, they go Ronnie Bell, wide receiver from Michigan. And round 7, once again, Jalen Graham, linebacker from Purdue. I will just say this. The Niners were one of the worst drafting teams.
Yep.
When you're taking a kicker with your second pick that you have and don't address anything else other than that. Safety Brown, I'm not as high on him. He was part of my honorable mentions, but man, I did not expect him to go in round 3. No. More of a in the box safety with maybe potential to develop in the coverage game, but a lot of work that has to be done there. Cam Latu, I think one of the worst tight ends in the draft. I don't think much of him at all. And then everybody else afterwards, developmental. Guys that weren't going to make a difference right away. So it seems like they just went very deep with, hey, let's try to work with these players and see if we can make them better than what they actually are. So Niners, I think you missed big time on this draft.
Yeah, like, I mean, this is a team that's, they're already pretty good, whatever, but like this draft was just a waste, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When you don't have many picks, you got to try and pick guys who can maybe come in and be a starter in a weak spot, a guy who can come in and give you depth where you don't have it. And they're like, oh, but we're losing Robbie. We need a kicker. Let's get Jake Moody. Like, he has a leg, but it's round 3. It is day 2. I don't care if this kicker can kick a field goal on the frickin' moon.
Okay,
don't pick him on round.
I'll take him in round 1 then. He's just gonna have to kick field goals from the other end of the field. It's fine with me.
Just come on, man. It's round 3, day 2. Just no. That's
Overall,
about the only thing I
just
can even
missed.
talk about for the Niners. All right, after that, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Buccaneers, round 1, they go Kalijah Cansey, D tackle from Pittsburgh. Round 2, they go Cody Mauch, tackle from North Dakota State. Round 3, they go Yaya Diaby, linebacker from Louisville. Round 5, they go Cervasia Dennis, center from Pittsburgh. Round 5, they go Payne Durham, tight end from Purdue. Round 6, they go Josh Hayes, corner from Kansas State. Round 6 again, they go Trey Palmer, wide receiver, Nebraska. Round 6 again, and last pick, Jose Ramirez, edge from Eastern Michigan. I like the very beginning of their draft.
Yep.
I will say this. After their first 2 picks, Cansey, love the talent, love the D tackle. A lot of people say he's has shorter arms and too small to play the D tackle position. I argue that. I think he could play both D tackle and edge. So if they did want to kick him out to the edge, they could do that. Guy is very versatile that way. I think he's going to be a great player for them. Cody Mauch, tackle, the love of the draft, the toothless wonder, if you will. He is missing his 2 front teeth, and he is happy to show it. A guy that is in great spirits, but on Sundays is going to look to put you in the ground. So I think that's a good pick for them, and he fits their kind of scheme, like athletic lineman. So I like that pick a lot. After that, you go with Yaya, linebacker from Louisville, developmental prospect, could develop into a starter down the road. And every pick after that, all developmental, all projection, all hoping that they do something better than they did in college.
Yeah, outside of the first 2 picks, I don't like the rest of this draft. I don't have much to say about them. I like Cody Mauch. He's one of those guys I was very high on when we were rating the tackles, even though there's a lot of good tackles that came out of this draft. It's going to be cool to see him play. I loved seeing his old picture of, like, this little baby face, 208-pound guy as a freshman, to be this, like, 300-pound Viking with missing teeth by his senior year. I think he's going to be a great player for the Buccaneers. I think they got 2 great tackles going forward. And Kalijah Cansey, while it's very much like he's very good right now with a lot of potential down the line, I think that's a good pick for them at 19. But this is a team that's kind of starting to trend downwards to the post-Brady era, and I don't think they did themselves any favors in this draft, in my opinion. Next off, our second to last team of the night, we have the Tennessee Titans.
Titans started off round 1. They go Peter Skoronski, offensive tackle from Northwestern. Round 2, they go Will Levis, quarterback from Kentucky. Tajay Spears goes in round 3, running back from Tulane. Round 5, they go Josh Wiley, tight end from Cincinnati. Round 6, they go Jalen Duncan, tackle from Maryland. And round 7, to finish it off, they go Colton Dowell, wide receiver from Tennessee Martin. I will say this. I think Tennessee was ecstatic. And there was something about it that they knew that Will Levis might be there for round 2. Yep. They go with a very critical need and high-level player in Peter Skoronski. Great pick by them. And then in round 2, come back and they get their quarterback. Will Levis, a lot of people some people had doubts, some people had high hopes for him, but I feel like there was an issue with his toe. Was the injury lingering that he had?
Think he's gonna need surgery on his toe,
and everybody was panicking. Oh no, it's toe surgery. He's gonna be fine. Just give him the surgery, let him heal, and he'll be out there. Yep. So Tennessee was more than happy to take him in the second round. Tajay Spears, an underrated running back, a guy that's going to be dynamite for Tennessee in the rotation with Derrick Henry. Yep. Josh Wiley, tight end from Cincinnati, a developmental tight end, a guy that can become a starter for them. And the same thing with Duncan, tackle from Maryland, but he needs some development. Other than that, I feel like Tennessee had a very solid draft. They didn't do a lot of trading or anything like that, but they got the players that were of value to them.
Yeah, I think day 1 and 2, I really like their picks. Day 3, they got some okay players, nothing that really stands out. I mean, getting Levis day 2, congratulations, that's amazing value and probably your future starter. We might even see him in a couple games by the end of the season. Spears is your guy who you're hoping, if Derrick Henry gets hurt or maybe post Derrick Henry era, is going to be maybe your starter going down the road. And we've already talked about how much we really like Skoronski. He's either going to be a very good tackle or an all-pro level guard.
A great guard. Yes.
So very good job for the Titans, a team that's kind of like sitting in that mediocrity role at the moment.
Last but not least.
And kind of the least sometimes. Got the Commanders, at least in terms of our division.
Washington Commanders start off in round 1 at pick 16. They grab Emmanuel Forbes, corner from Mississippi State. Round 2, they go Jatavius Martin, corner from Maryland. Round 3, they go Ricky Stromberg, center from Arkansas. Round 4, they go Braden Daniels, tackle from Utah. Round 5, they go KJ Henry, edge from Clemson. Round 6, they go Chris Rodriguez Jr., running back from Kentucky. And then round 7, they go Andre Jones, linebacker from Louisiana. Washington, I think, had a sneaky draft here. A lot of these guys, some of them view them as developmental players. I think a lot of them could definitely easily start for the Commanders. Yep. Ricky Stromberg definitely kind of highlights it all. Center from Arkansas. Very mean center, a guy that's going to do some damage for Washington. Forbes, we've talked about him before. He's me and Cody had him very high on our list. Yep. Definitely has tremendous coverage ability, but man, is he light as a feather. And literally light as a feather. He needs to put 30 pounds on of weight. So that'll be interesting to see in the season. I don't think he's going to be sitting the bench. He's definitely going to be out there. But other than that, got Jatavius Martin, a guy that's definitely a sleeper type of pick for them, a guy that easily can develop to be a starter. Other than that, you got guys like Braden Daniels, a guy that can be a starter down the road, if not compete right now. KJ Henry, overlooked because of, guess who? Miles Murphy. A guy that kind of just fell through the cracks, and these guys grab him. So overall, I think they did a pretty solid draft. They got some good picks for themselves, and that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, they got a good handful of potential starters. Forbes is one of my favorite corners in this draft because of just his ability to create turnovers and lock down receivers, even the bigger receivers, despite his size. So he's already very much gotten used to fighting through physicality. We'll see how he does at the NFL level with that. And then I think they were very smart in round 5 to trade up and grab up KJ Henry, especially with the uncertainty right now surrounding the future of Chase Young. I believe that will conclude.
That's it for the review, everybody.
Review. Whew. That was interesting.
Jimmy's exhausted.
I am.
It's too much information to take in.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's it. That's it for our show tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The review. And
don't forget
that's
to
what we're
like,
talking about next
subscribe, hit that notification bell on YouTube to let you guys know when we go live, and follow us and take us along on your daily, anywhere you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, you name it, we're there. Drop a follow.
Peace out.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday nights for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.